Okay, hello and welcome. I'm calling this meeting to order of the Northfield Selectboard at 6:06. We just took a few minutes to get our technical issues out of the way since we have somebody joining us via Zoom. Okay,
Oh, don't forget to mute.
we'll work on the volume issue. Can you mute him? Okay.
Just mute on your computer if you have
Yeah.
a mute button, like right on the dashboard.
Okay, there we go. All right, he's back. Okay, so we are going to start this meeting with an appointment with Attorney William Solomon, who's going to give us an update on the Comcast contract. And by way of introduction, Attorney Solomon, can you remind us how long you've been working with the town of Northfield?
Sure, thank you very much.
Welcome.
COVID time is even different, right? But I think we've been working for 2 years.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
Goodness.
and, sorry.
But, so you're going to give us an overview tonight. I just want to welcome you to our select board and thank you on behalf of the select board for working for the town of Northfield. So we're excited. We're nearing the conclusion of this process.
Yes, no, it's it's been successful, it's been good. You would not be able to do it without your town administrator, who, as you know, is fully active, I'm sure, in everything. And I always say, like Dostoevsky once said, you judge the society by its prisons. I judge the town administrator by, do they do the unseen work that no one knows about on cable just because they feel that their job is to get things done and to help the town. And Andrea's been tremendous. I appreciate her full involvement. It's made the process successful and far more effective. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you.
And for the Dostoevsky quote too.
Yeah. That's my only, so far that's the only conflict I've had with prison.
That's great.
But thank you, yes.
Okay.
So let me give you an update, if
Good.
it's okay. There's two agreements we're finalizing, and I think we're 99% done with one, and the other one I'm doing the final changes on the town side, and I've had discussions with the Comcast Government Affairs manager, Matt Skane, who is a great advocate for Comcast and a person though who knows how to get to yes, even though he represents his company well. So let's first go over the cable licenses. You know, cable licenses tend to be documents that are or agreements that are for 10 years. It's in the town's interest to have a long-term contract. Now is a good time to fix the terms for cable going forward in a world where there's tremendous flux. And the town had two basic aims. One is to continue to support and strengthen public educational and government access television programming and operations. As you know, you have a joint program by Bernardston-Northfield Community Television. Otis Wheeler does a great job. He was instrumental in getting to this agreement. And never, as you know, never has community television PEG access been more important. Through COVID and post-COVID, in the world where now people expect and want hybrid meetings during COVID, as people mentioned, similar to the headline of the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. Well, as one select board member in the town I work in said that in their town, democracy would have ended for months if it wasn't for community television, because that's how the town got its message out. That's how the community, the residents and businesses kept in touch with government through both community television and on the internet, where there's tremendous overlap. So that never has it been more important, never has it been understood to be more important. So the goal, and I know it was the board's goal, was to continue to improve and strengthen both the public and the educational and government access. The other goal was that, as you know, that there were residents in Northfield who have not had the availability of cable service, and in some ways, it was more of a challenge in Northfield because sometimes there are tremendous areas in a town that are not covered. And then through the MBI process and then potentially other funding that came from COVID, in some ways, when there's larger areas, it can be dealt with in a global fashion. But what sometimes is more difficult is where there are fewer folks, dwelling units, that don't have access to cable, and trying to figure out a way where the cable company and the town can work together so that the cable company, basically builds their system. It's their system, it's not yours. You don't run cable, you're not going to get the revenues from this. You're willing to provide funding to get it done, but on the other hand, it's not reasonable in the town we're prepared to build Comcast its cable system. And so through the work of Andrea and Matt Skane, the team, we've been able to reach an agreement on that. So let me first, if I could I put something on the screen, Andrea?
Is to share screen? Okay.
Yeah, or let me see if I can just put it side by side. Let me just put it side by side.
Should be able to.
Let's see if I can make that smaller. Yeah, I'm okay. So the term of the license, as agreed upon, would be at this point we have December 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2032. That may change. We may make it January 1st, 2023. There's some reasons I guess to keep it the December date because of this interaction with the extension agreement that Comcast has some thoughts. So I guess we'll probably end up keeping it where it is, and that's fine. As I said, a 10-year cable license. It's a license agreement, so I view it, and implicitly and explicitly Comcast does too. It's not just permission to Comcast to provide cable service, but the terms and of the license are obligations for Comcast. They're agreeing to meet certain terms, do certain things in exchange for the right to provide cable. So not just like a driver's license where you can drive or not drive, depending on what you want. That here, this is an agreement, and these terms and conditions become obligations as they apply to both parties. The future build out of the town, apart from what's being addressed in the extension agreement, is staying the same as it is in the current license, where there's a density requirement. But that density requirement is quite low as density requirements go in Western Massachusetts. And that is 15 dwelling units per mile for both aerial and underground areas that the cable system has to be extended. So if you have 15 dwelling units per mile, then Comcast is obligated to extend their cable system. Again, that's a good number for a rural area. In addition, there's a formula which, in sum and substance, works as follows. If there is a mile and there's 10 homes, but the formula works by basically saying that those 10 homeowners don't have to pay for the full extension, they have to make up for the 5 missing dwelling units, so that the formula makes it more affordable to determine what the contribution of the homeowners on the ground would be. That formula does look at not just the homes that are there, but people who take people. So in sum and substance, that's a much harder number to change, but if you're in a good position, that's a very low density number for a rural area. And we have a formula that would further help. Now, at this point, after this build out, there would maybe exceptions you can count on 2 fingers, there will not be any area that isn't covered, so that the extension formula would only apply going forward if there was new construction and it wasn't otherwise built under the density requirement, or Comcast just didn't decide they were going to build it. So the best way to deal with getting things built that are not covered now is reaching an agreement about those specific roads and homes, and that's what the town did here.
Great.
The standard installation for connecting the cable system to a home at a set rate, $50, $60, is 250 feet. That's on the very high side of standard installation distances. You see anything from 125 feet to 150, so that if a home is within 250 feet of where you connect on the road, then there's just the standard rate to install it, no cost calculated. If it's more than that, then the 250 feet is standard installation, and after that, Comcast is allowed to charge for that, consistent with any applicable laws and regulations. Let me just say that I'm not going to spend any time on the policy or the rules provisions here, but they're all very, very strong, and we're able in negotiations to get language that we're very comfortable with, that makes sure that neither side gains the future. If this is a cable license, it's not dealing with anything other than cable license. It doesn't change federal definitions to something that one side or the other would prefer to have. So it's a very strong license in protecting the town and making sure that what happens going forward is what's intended by the parties.
Okay.
The definition of gross revenue I won't get into, but it's a very strong, it's excellent definition of gross revenue. Gross revenue definition is the most important definition in the license, because it's against those gross revenues that the franchise fee is percentage is calculated. And that gross revenue definition has no arbitrary exclusions. It includes all revenue that comes in, and then lists a bunch of categories, which would include advertising, home shopping, equipment, and a range of cable services. So that's an important definition, and the town is fully protected. Cable service to public buildings. I won't go into depth, but there was an FCC order about 2 years ago that impacts that. It potentially impacts that. The way I look at it, but we deal with that in the license. The way I look at cable service to public buildings is that when cable companies came to cities and towns, including Northfield, originally they said, look, we love to be in your public way. We'd like to use that for our business, and we'll give you cable service, not premium channels, but all the other channels. We'll give that to you, your public buildings and your schools. So they offered that. They were glad to do so. Unfortunately, the FCC about 2 years ago, under a different administration, decided that the provision of cable service by cable companies must have happened through twisting arms and breaking legs, and so they allowed them to treat that the marginal cost of that service, not the market cost, but the marginal cost of that service, as decided by the appeals court, count that in a certain way. Comcast does not do that now. I think that reflects the fact, and I believe they will not do that in the future, because Comcast is an excellent cable company. And I say, if you ask Google or Facebook or someone to come to town hall to talk with you about services here, no one will come. Comcast, again, is a local company. They care about localism. They care about community television, because they know that makes their product a stronger product. And so we deal with cable drops to public buildings in the license, but I fully believe that the practice now of Comcast providing that is something that they're proud of. It's something that they'll continue going forward and not seek to affect their contribution to the town's community television as a result of providing cable service to public buildings.
Okay, Attorney Solomon, can I just interrupt you for a moment? I just want to make sure, does any of the board have questions about what's been stated so far?
Yeah, I have a question.
Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
I didn't want to get too far because I know.
All good, yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, so once this document is signed, it's as simple as somebody can just call Comcast and get service, right?
No,
It's not that way.
Well,
Okay.
if they're covered, if they currently have service in the area, if they have service, then yes, you can call them up and you get service.
Well, this person doesn't have service.
You're getting to the.
If a person, if they don't have cable service available, then in 99% of the instances, that's being covered by the second agreement, the extension of the cable system. And that where the town is providing, I don't think about $13,000, Comcast is paying the rest. And over a period of time, I think over a period of maybe 2 years, Comcast is going to build out to the portion of town that doesn't have cable service available.
Right.
The 99% of that area, they're going to build out in the next, I'll take over the agreement, 2 years. So that if cable service is not available, that the agreement will sign contemporaneous with the license, will have Comcast build out. And as soon as that's built out, then yes, it would just take a call to Comcast and under the to get cable service.
Okay, so is this agreement, I was tuning into what you talked about density requirement and your mention regarding that we are tackling those last specific areas of Northfield, right? Is that what you were getting to, Alex?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
covering that now. So that
Okay.
that's your requirement. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. I think that's what we're not speaking for Alex, but I think we share that concern that, and also that's one of the benefits of this is that we're actually covering certain areas where folks have not had access,
Exactly.
even though it's
We
small
don't-
and specific.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to get through the weeds.
Okay.
To finalize that PEG access, the public access support for cable is going to be 4.8%, and that's an increase. I'm trying to remember where you are now. Getting like before. So then the Comcast provides 4.8% of their gross revenue to the town for public, educational, and government access operations. And the maximum allowed under federal law is 5%. We're at 4.8, and when you're at 5%, there are exclusions. So 4.8, for all practical purposes, is really the same as 5%. It has some other advantages by being 4.8. I'm forgetting, I don't have it here remotely. Currently, the percentage support, I can't remember, it's 3.5 or.
It might be 4.
But
This
so
is an
it's that 0.8% is a large increase from 4%, and that'll allow for greater support. Now it depends on the revenue, but that is, from 4 to 4.8% is 20% or so. So that's a big strength of this license going forward.
And that's for public television.
No,
That's right. That's for public education and government television.
Yeah.
And under the combination of federal and Massachusetts law, the dollars, operating dollar, the franchise fee, which that is, must go for cable purposes.
Right.
And it has worked out. Massachusetts has the strongest community television in the country. As it turns out, when you step back from it and you look, there probably is not a better use in communities to help local community groups, local businesses, or residents, watching their kids in sports and many other things. There's probably not a better use of dollars than community television. As mentioned, I think COVID really brought home that was one of the essential services combined with what's streamed by access on the internet. Pet capital funding is $30,000, $3,000 a year. That goes to capital purposes. Again, we work with Otis on the capital plan. Those are the basic cable license terms. Increased support, significantly increased support, operating support, community television, PEG access. Capital funding that you can never meet all your needs, but that goes toward that. And frankly, there was a balancing between the capital funding and the strong interest of the town to build out to the residents of the town who didn't have cable. So the parties had to find a balance between that capital funding number and the need for Comcast to build out the cable system with only with a minor contribution by the town toward that process. So that then would take us to the system, the agreement to extend the cable system. And let me just put that up for myself. 1 second.
Andrea, do you want to add anything to what he's saying?
No, I think so far he's pretty much covered
Okay.
the big pieces that we actually negotiate. The rest
Yeah.
is a lot of legal
A
language.
lot
but
of detail.
it's those numbers.
Okay, because I just wanted to do a time check too.
And then he's going to probably tell you the side agreement, the other one. The bill.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take 1 minute for the agreement, just.
Okay, good.
If-
Do you want to
if that works.
share? Yeah, go ahead and share that. I just wanted to do a time check because we have our next appointment waiting
Sure, yeah.
too. So
I can do it probably in a minute. So,
Oh, okay.
Under the agreement, the town would pay $13,500. Comcast would have all of the costs to extend the system. And again, Andre is really focused more on this. Their payments are in 2 parts. What I've done in my changes to make sure the town is protected on that all of the provisions that are in the renewal license about things like indemnification and insurance during construction and afterwards, this will be operated under the renewal license, that the town has the same protections in the building of the system, since we're part of this, we funded as we do in the cable license. Comcast has agreed to that, and we both, myself and the government affairs manager, agreed the easiest way to do that is just for my referencing those important sections in the renewal license in this agreement, so the town is fully protected. So this agreement will get the town, its whole primary interest in this license, after together with community television, is get the system built out at a very low cost to the town, and built out in a timely manner, including the provision of broadband at speeds and exceed 100 megabits. So together, the town's goals have been fully met through this process. When it began, it wasn't clear that Comcast was going to build it out. We typically work and we get built out, but it's a challenging issue, and it's really the dedication of your board, Andrea, and the negotiating team that we were able to get Northfield, for any practical purpose, fully built out and in a timely manner. So
nice.
I think we're looking good. You have to answer any questions. I anticipate that there's one open issue on the license, the connection of the town hall to the Comcast cable system that I'm working out with government affairs manager. Other than that, the license has been fully agreed to, is returned by this office to their office. And I anticipate that in the next 2 weeks, or less, the extension agreement will be finalized, and the board will be ready to vote and sign on both agreements.
Great.
Depending on your schedule, that could happen here in
Well, our next meeting is December 20th, so we were thinking we would sign it then.
Yeah, that's
So
what
that's
we're
2
working
weeks.
for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I think that's certainly doable, and I'd like
We're going to pay
Okay.
$13,000 to extend the system.
Excellent work.
Yes.
And I think this just goes to show,
In a
as
certain way.
many things that happens in my experience of 2.5 years on the select board, is things take time, and you have to keep moving the football down the field in order to achieve anything. So it sounds like mission accomplished on this one.
Right. And
yes, and thank you. And without this final point, there was an issue that we raised with Comcast that I think it's resolved itself, and that'll be fairly dealt with in the next license. So part of that process was saying to Comcast that, look, we want to work together, but by the same token, if we're not working together, then we're going to make sure that you comply with the license. And Comcast came to the table on its own for good reasons, and we worked those things out. But but the process that this board was involved with, in order to make sure that the current license is complied with, I think also played an instrumental role in getting this agreement there.
Excellent. Any questions from, or,
The extension
Or
agreement that we
comments.
keep referencing is,
yeah, that would
it's kind of twofold, although it's the same area. It's 4 Mile Brook Road,
right,
and we're gonna go down to, well, there's a bridge where we have to stop because going across or under the bridge would be unbelievably cost prohibitive. Plus there's a couple homes there, one I believe is off the grid, so getting to that would be prohibitive, but we would be going down, essentially, I think there's something like 6 or 7 homes down there that are unserved at this time. And then there's a home that's all the way down, right on the Irving border.
Yeah, 63. That's the Billings house.
They're
Yeah.
gonna bring it up from Irving.
Okay.
It's in the
excellent.
build-up.
So
Okay.
the only question that I'm trying to get
Yeah.
answered here is that between what is the timeline from the signing of the extension agreement, the construction of the extension, whatever it is, and then having this new customer sign up for it? That's all I want to know.
Well, they're promising within 2 years, but they'd like to do it next year, the build-out.
So next year we're looking at the build out.
They promised within 2 on the license, but what I'm hearing is, this is a small enough build that they think they can get mobilized for next year, was the hope. But obviously
year
they're gonna
being-
give themselves a little more time in the license, but our hope is next year.
The summer
that
of
they-
23?
That they would say, once they build it out, and they'll know when they build it out, because they're gonna see the trucks, then they'll be able to call in and get service.
Okay.
I don't know, the one from Irving might be quicker, I'm not sure how they're gonna prioritize it.
Yeah. that
But
would
we
be
can find
different.
out once we've signed the license, we'll get a better sense.
Okay.
So you think like by summer then?
I'm hopeful, I'll call them, we'll wait till after we've signed, nothing's gonna happen until spring.
Right.
But I can certainly call after spring and see where we stand on the order.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
Okay, and then, what percentage does that take us from? Because we were at a fairly high percentage to begin with, and that the last few homes are really, really tricky.
There's
So
a
what
couple
does this,
scattered
do you remember what
homes.
this gets us to?
Oh, this is gonna get us probably to 98 or 98.5, close to 99%. There's a couple of homes that are isolated. Couple because they would require underground individual builds.
Right.
There's no overhead to them. They're already like serviced through underground pipes, and that's private. So building up for Comcast to them is sort of a private affair. We don't really have any part
They
of
would
that.
need to approach Comcast separately.
Correct,
Okay.
because they own their own connection. And there's 1 or 2 more, like these ones I mentioned, that are over a bridge, that are pretty far out, and would require significant infrastructure build. But they're all sort of individually placed around. There's no group. This was the biggest group that was sort of as a group down one street that we had left hanging out there.
So does this
And,
affect that particular resident I forwarded you the email about? Do you know
Yes.
what number he was at? He's someone that it will be getting this, or someone that has other
No, it's-
variables.
On 4 Mile Brook Road,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Okay.
That's the reason I pushed so hard, is after that group of residents were
Okay.
very vocal. They came to the ascertainment hearing.
Yep, we
It
had good
was
support
very clear
from
from them.
citizens.
And then I heard multiple times from the home that you're referencing, just
Yep.
over the Irving border.
Yep.
So that was the build out that I pushed for.
And I think
that
they
we
all
got
went
good
to the
response.
ascertainment
Yes,
hearing
they
as
did.
well as other citizens,
So they were heard, yes.
Yep, so we had good, even though obviously the process has taken a while, we had really good input from citizens at that hearing.
So I was glad that we were able to negotiate those 2 in particular, because they were very vocal and came out.
Right,
Yeah.
Gave
really,
their energy
and
time
really
for it.
wanted, yeah, okay. All right, I think that's great, thank you. Attorney Solomon, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill. I'm
you.
sure we'll be talking soon.
We will. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and we'll follow up in a couple of weeks, it sounds like.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're
sir.
welcome. We'll be back in touch.
Okay, good.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, have a good night.
You too.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Tom, would you like to come up? You have to follow that.
Do you guys need me to
That's
continue
exciting
this? Or
news.
can I end it? Can I end this?
So that's exciting news. It's a lot to wade through. I mean, that's 2 years worth of work, and I'm sure the contract is no fun read, but
Multiple times.
multiple times. So I'm glad that we can actually spread some good news to folks on
So
that.
all in all, it'll be about 4 years.
Well, yeah, for
I
maybe
mean,
By the
the-
time we're done,
3,
yeah.
you know.
hopefully it'll
My
be
God.
next year. That's my hope.
Yeah.
That's
We'll
why you
push
have to
pretty
like
hard.
stick, really
Yeah.
keep, like
Repeating
Alex,
yourself.
Alex, how many times have you talked about Comcast over the years?
More times than I can count.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. Okay. And thank you, Andrea, for sticking with that. Okay, Tom. Welcome.
Yes.
Hello, Tommy.
It's-
Hi, Tom.
It's December. We haven't had any, you know what, but.
Got the plow trucks ready, all greased up.
Everything's
Of
ready.
course.
Used it once,
He was ready in
plowed it down
August.
once, salted once. That's enough. It'll be enough.
All righty. So
You have
we're-
my address, right, Tom? Just double checking on that. I think I get Tuesdays at 4 on my calendar.
I get the NASDAQ, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a few things, starting with sidewalk inventory, because you need some input on sidewalk plowing.
Yes, which ones we're gonna take care of.
Yeah. So, question for you, because I know you look at all this stuff and you go out and you assess like what you can do, and I know you guys do Herculean work. Do you want to start small and try this out? I think that's what I'm going to be looking for, and I'm going to leave it up to the rest of the board and their questions. But when you talk about inventory, do you want us to just, how would you like for us to proceed and support what you need to do? Because I think we'd be open.
some of it's a condition of them. I mean, you don't wanna take this new machine and beat it up the first year because we're doing, I mean, Parker Avenue, for instance, it's horrible. I mean, it's not, until that's done, it's not something we should even consider doing for the condition of it. The only hard part is the one on the other side of the river. Then you're going to move the machine back and forth all the time because there's a small piece over in West Northfield right on the Vermont line.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to hold, I mean, most of those people are always good about shoveling over there. I've never had a problem, even prior to any of the rules. I don't even think the town maintained that area years ago that I remember.
Where's that?
I know.
Right
I
on
think
the
Yeah,
town
which one's
line.
that
Right
was
at
a
the town.
revelation to me. Do you want to
If you-
describe where it is?
Right on the town line.
Yeah, it starts right at the Vernon line and comes up around to the railroad bridge on West
Okay.
on West Northfield Road.
I
If you
wouldn't
take a
think I
ride
ever
out
even
there, you'll
noticed.
see it. I don't think I even noticed it, but
The telephone poles are right in the middle of it. And,
Where does it tune to?
well, originally there was a store on the Vermont line,
Okay.
so they got off the rail and they came up the stairs and walked down there. There's a
Huh.
post office and store and everything.
that building's gone.
Years ago, all that's gone. There's
Yeah.
no rail station there or anything. I mean, that's that one for us. We're in hopes to leave the equipment over here if this is where we're gonna take care of everything, instead of trucking it back and forth all the time. I mean, Highland Ave, we're looking at doing a project there, but I know it's something the residents are gonna want done. Some of it's in poor shape, some of it isn't, but I think we could probably get through it for this year to.
Without damaging your equipment.
Yeah. I mean, this new machine that we're in the process of getting is smaller than the one that we already had acquired.
More maneuverable.
Yeah, and it's narrower. The other one we had takes up to like 5.5 feet. The new one's only 4.
Okay.
And the areas on Highland Avenue right now with the trees, the stumps, the telephone
yeah.
poles is only 4 feet or so in
If
between.
you're lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that, as a, Moody Street's new. I mean, the easiest thing for us would be kind of come up Main Street, go up Moody, down Highland, and back down Main Street, and see how it goes. I mean,
That sounds good.
we gave estimated times. We have no idea because we've never done it since I've been here. I know they did it before.
This
but-
is a new service, so
Right.
we're just gonna see how it goes, right?
Right.
With the equipment, with the sidewalks, with time. So we're gonna set expectations really.
Yeah,
low.
and then we can expand from there as we, expand the future of the sidewalks, like down Parker Ave if they ever get fixed, or
But what you're proposing, Tom, is actually most of what we've got on the list.
Yeah, it's just like I said, Parker Avenue, Mount Herman. And I don't know what part the school's gonna do, how far. I mean, I was proposing coming right up Moody and down Highland. I don't know, last year the school, I mean, obviously they took care of everything. I mean, I can contact Steve and see what they're
Okay.
planning on doing.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if they were to,
If they did that little piece
Right.
that goes from Moody down to where it ends, down to the auditorium,
Mm-hmm.
and then the piece down on the state highway, there's a small piece that goes down to the birthplace or the,
right,
whatever it is, by the main gate,
homestead.
that area there.
So you'd have to talk to Steve Wiggins.
Yeah,
And
I'll get in
you're okay
contact
with
with
doing
him.
that?
Yeah,
And then Parker Avenue, Tom, that's where the First Parish Church is,
yeah.
right? And go down. That's a horrible street, right?
Yes.
In the winter, I know, parking there at church and stuff. So you're unable to touch that this season,
It's all broke up and everything. And
right? And is there a plan to have that road fixed?
the
So
road
that-
itself is fine, it's just a sidewalk, and I think it's gonna be part of a grant thing down the road to look into after we do
Right.
Highland Avenue possibly.
Because there are residents on that
Well,
street.
and if we got the engineering back, right, we could even throw it in as well if we had to
Right.
look at it.
That would be great.
Do you have any more community grant things?
Well, we're looking at the community,
Complete streets.
we're looking at the complete streets.
Yeah.
And we've been working with the engineer because part of the reason Highland was pulled out was because there's a sort of a culvert issue there. So he wants to do the culvert in lieu of, and at the same time that we then do the sidewalks. Otherwise we'd have like done sidewalks, stop where the culvert is, do more, it didn't make sense.
Oh,
So I think our goal is this spring, community compact opens up again,
March.
or it's February, March.
Yeah.
When they announce that it's open. And so hopefully we're going to aim it so that the engineer who we've met with would, and we have to figure out how to pay for the engineering because Complete Streets doesn't pay for the engineering. So once we get a number, then Tom and I can talk about how to find some funding for that engineering so that we can then put in a Complete Streets grant with that in the hopes that next summer we would be.
because part of it doesn't
Constructing
even have a
Highland.
sidewalk, right? The sidewalk ends.
It ends
Right.
right down at the, yeah,
The cemetery.
well, it ends before that.
Before
It
that.
ends just before the last house
Right,
by Margaret Glazer's. I don't know if you know where she lives.
I do.
That's where it ends, right there. Now.
Okay, right. But it's, yeah, it'd be nice to get that all fixed up.
So are
Right.
we,
I mean, those are really the last two in town that need to be fixed. It's Highland Avenue and Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
Okay.
else has been addressed. Holton Street's been addressed all the way down. The only part of Holton that hasn't been addressed is, and it's not in bad shape, we looked at it, is down from the Trinitarian Church to the bridge,
Oh.
down that hill.
that's
Yeah.
not bad, especially since MassDOT fixed the crosswalk
Right.
Mhm.
ending right
So-
there. That's where it was chunked up anyway, and
Yeah.
they fixed that piece. So
And what about Winchester Road?
That's the one I'm gonna talk to Steve about. That's the piece that I'm talking
Oh,
about.
so the Mount Herman Station and Winchester are
Yeah.
together?
No, Mount Herman
No,
Station's
Mount Herman's
the one
separate.
up on the border with
Oh,
Vermont.
okay, I'm sorry.
We're thinking to kind of leave it alone this year and keep the equipment on this side because we don't have a sense of time yet, how long it's going to take them to even do this. And
Right.
then to drive that equipment up there for a sidewalk that's, I don't know, is it twice the length of this room maybe?
Yeah, it's
the
not.
sidewalk in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I think I
Very
measured it
It's in
on
front of
here.
like 3 houses.
Yeah, it's
All right, so you're proposing, I just want to summarize so far. So you're proposing doing Main Street to Moody Street, Highland, and then circle back down Holton to Main?
Yep.
That's what you're proposing. And what we're also talking about is both Highland and Parker need to, or are in the process of being evaluated so we can go after Complete Streets grants.
I think we could look at adding Parker if we can get them to look at that as well. They don't have to necessarily be contiguous, but I think they can.
And
We can
do,
make the argument that it completes streets because of the sidewalk on it
Yeah.
already, maybe.
Mhm.
do we need funding for engineering prior to submitting the grants?
No,
For
I
either
don't
or
think so
both?
because we didn't have it done prior to the last
No.
one. We just have to commit, we'll do the engineering.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And is that something that we would look at ARPA for, or that's something that comes out of
Right now, I think we're trying to get, and we haven't talked to him about Parker, so that's another,
Right.
well, we're throwing that at him. But we've been working with Zach at
Time
Time
Bond.
Bond to
Okay,
get a price. First, they have to just evaluate it
To
and
get
say,
a
okay, this
ballpark.
is how much we think it would cost to engineer it. We need to get that number, so then we can look at sources of funding. We just don't have that number yet. Once we see the number, then we can evaluate what pool of money might be most appropriate.
okay. And then the last piece would be, you're gonna check with Thomas Aquinas on covering that stretch.
Winchester.
As you take the right onto Highland, you're hoping they're gonna do that stretch of Winchester on the new sidewalk.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, that's the plan. Mary?
When you're doing specifically Main Street, and you're on the machine, you're going down the sidewalk, the snow's blowing to the street always.
Mm.
You can adjust it wherever.
Usually,
It hydraulically turns.
Usually you blow it, you have to blow it onto the grass.
Well, that's what I was wondering, if this becomes,
But this has a pretty wide green belt
if
here.
this
Yeah.
becomes mounded on, like, can we anticipate any issues from residents saying, whoa, that's too much snow on my,
No, not with a snow blower.
right?
And that's one of the reasons hopefully we can do this with a snow blower. I mean, the wet snow's hard. Only to the fact that, because we don't have enough people to do it the night that it's snowing, because everybody's gonna have their driveways cleared.
Right.
And then if we were to go through with a snowplow the next day, then you're gonna have upset people. But this you can angle either way, so you can blow it over if there's, I can't really think of, the only hard part is gonna be actually like in front of Mims in the creamy area where it's a long stretch, but that usually gets plowed anyways when the plow does the parking lot. So it probably wouldn't be that bad when you come to the end. But most of it can be blown between Main Street. Highland Ave's a little tricky because there's no grass belt between the
Well, the sidewalks don't get done in front of the Creamy or Mims. It's privately done.
yeah, it's usually done with a plow, but I mean
Yes.
normally you'd go the snowblower's gonna come right through there anyway. So
Right.
but our intention is to turn it between Main Street and there, but on Highland Ave it'll have to go on the edge of the lawns
Right.
down
Okay.
through there.
Yeah, when I lived in a town that did it, then they would, but only when they got to the opening of the driveway. If the driveway was plowed, they would try to they would just
Right.
turn the thing so it didn't put it back in their driveway.
Right.
They turn it at an angle. They'd still be blowing at their lawn, but that's where you're gonna shovel it. And you can't shovel into the
Well,
road.
that's where you're gonna
anyway.
plow it too, when you're plowing the.
Right, so it's gonna, so if they plow it up, then the sidewalker comes through and pushes it. But at least then the street and the sidewalk would be clear and they don't
Right.
block your driveway is the intent.
Yeah, I just wanted to, cover us in case we had
Yeah, it's
some
not gonna
citizen
mount it.
complaints.
Mary,
Yeah.
I actually think that's a good, to visualize like what's going to be happening,
Right.
because then you can anticipate where questions would
May
be coming
arise.
from. May arise. Because everybody, it sounds like a great idea, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's never happened before, and then people are like, what about this snow over here? What about that snow over there? Alex, you had a question too?
Yeah, I have a couple. So Tom, let's talk about the weight of this machine. Is it a fairly heavy machine, industrial grade?
Yeah. I don't know I can't remember the weight off the top of my head. Of
Okay.
the whole,
So I think one of the obstacles that will eventually happen is that some people that plow driveways or have local individuals plow driveways, sometimes they don't push the snow in the right area. It happens. And I'm just worried that if they shove a bunch of snow in an area that's close to the sidewalk, will this machine be able to push a bunch of heavy snow?
It's hard to say because,
It's
like I
away.
said, we haven't used it before, haven't done it. This is a newer.
It's gonna be
Everybody I
newer.
talked to
Yeah.
about the machine that we ordered has great reviews of them. I mean, I guess I didn't even realize till yesterday Mass Highway's been buying them left and right. They're replacing a lot of their stuff with these, even for mowing grass and everything else.
Oh, great.
Because they're very versatile. Mount Herman has one; they use it all the time. Snow and Sons has 3 of them, and I talked to them about it. If there's a problem, we'll figure it out.
At the
Okay.
time. Are
Yeah,
you excited about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I am
getting the
too.
machine.
How many people do you have trained to operate.
Oh, they can all operate it.
Of course they can.
They should be able to, and they'll all want to because it's new.
Right.
Until they've done it a few times. And then-
After the first or second time, the newness wears off every time.
Yeah, that's where it's off.
Tom, do I really have to?
Okay, this sounds
Well,
good.
providing the machine comes in on time, it's supposed to be here the middle of this month, but
Fingers crossed.
anything else I've ordered or we've ordered, I mean, we're waiting for a dump truck for 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
God.
Okay, so this sounds like a plan, and it sounds like we'll touch base, I don't know, in the spring or something.
Maybe soon.
Just to see, yeah,
Maybe in
just to
February.
see
Well,
what
once we
happens.
get the engineering stuff,
Yeah.
we may have to talk
One
about
quick
funding.
question, does it take care of the bridge
We'll be able to go over that.
at the Millbrook one?
Yeah.
That's fantastic,
Yeah.
because that's been
It's
just,
been a disaster.
Well,
Even
right,
though
let's
it's
do
not
it.
ours, we'll.
right, even,
We'll
well,
take it,
It's
yeah.
not?
No,
No,
it's the
it's-
state.
Oh, right.
but they
Still
expect
don't do
us to do it, so,
Yeah, okay.
it's never really been touched.
Tom's so grateful for you to spell this out.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate the whole idea being humored by individuals a
Yours
couple years
truly.
ago that I chose to represent and push the issue forward.
Ah.
So I'm not.
Bravo, Alex.
That's
I
very
know you
nice.
weren't looking for that, but
That's very
I
nice. I
appreciate
was-
the reminder because
but-
I never would have thought of that.
I've
Alex.
stayed
So
on
good.
this for a past couple of years now, raising the necessary arguments of mobility for some of our older residents, and I'm just finally glad to see this plan is in place with the successful endorsement of the board, the residents, and of course our highway director. So
Definitely. I'm glad you said that,
It was
Alex.
a collaborative, and I'm glad that we were able to act on it. And I'm just going to note that it took as long as the Comcast.
yeah.
So I'm just
That's sad.
going to
Government
say
moves
over and
slow.
over again that when you have an idea, you've got to stick through it, right? I think that's the lesson learned tonight: is you just have to keep carrying that ball forward and keep track of your priorities, right?
And in Alex's case, it's a passion because he has such a passion for the residents.
Yes.
I do. I
You
can't.
weren't
I
gonna
really
let
do
it
care.
go.
I'm not
I
in this
know.
position just for status. I really.
Really?
There's no. I told someone recently, like, there's no power and status in these positions anymore. You have to be held accountable for everything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, like, I really
Plus,
enjoy.
we can't do anything unless we're together.
Exactly.
Right? People think we can do all these things. It's like,
I-
no, not
yeah.
until we get together.
I really do enjoy the fact that once we can do things like this that are directly going to affect people once in a while, and it just makes you have faith in local government. So.
Yeah.
There you go.
Technically, I think you might beat out Comcast on this one. I think
Yeah.
We'll have this accomplished before Comcast is done, so.
That's true. It's under the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, thanks, Tom.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you, Tom.
Really?
Thank you.
And
Not many
thank you.
communities that are
Thanks,
doing this to their
Andrea.
citizens, so it's great that
Yeah.
you guys were willing to pitch in on this.
Tom, I hope you hear on several select board meetings when we have a recognition of service. Your name often comes up, you and your team,
Yeah.
because we are so appreciative.
Well, see, the thing
So
is,
appreciative.
the Northfield Selectboard never used to appreciate the highway department years ago. At least when I first started off, it was really rare, and it was a different time then. So I'm just really
Right.
glad that they're getting the
Well,
recognition.
you've been around a long time.
Not
long
too
time
long.
now.
Yes,
Not-
you're
not
very
too long.
satisfactory.
Well,
Okay. So
You
we
have
we still have a few topics
Yes,
with
we
Tom
do.
here. So
Okay.
let's keep making progress.
okay.
Road and speed limit inventory. There's another chunky.
I was wondering, now
Effort.
that we've done the sidewalk one, but I'm wondering if, and I'd like to look into this, it might be another year or so, but there's actually
This is
community
another one that
compact
Alex is.
funds. I was at the ceremony
Yeah.
today, and somebody talked about road and pavement analysis studies being funded through the community compact.
Oh.
And that might be an opportunity, so that Tom doesn't have to necessarily drive every road in town with a measuring tape. For
We
us
would
to,
love to do that.
well, some of them I think he has lengths for, but if we wanted to look at, length, like we just did with the sidewalk, create an inventory like that for each street with the length, the width, the condition, that you can update every time you do work on it. And then also things like, like I said, keeping track of the last time it was worked on, the condition of the pavement, width and length, and then speed limit signs. You could put what's been posted on that road, just so you're keeping track of what's actually on each road.
And whether or not it's posted, right? Because that whole issues come up before.
So, so that might be something, at least the community compact might be a road and condition and pavement analysis piece. I think some have been done in the past,
We had a pavement analysis done probably 10 years ago now, at least, if not longer.
But if we could get one now on a spreadsheet, then it's just updated. So when you actually repave a road, you go in and put repaved in the date. And then it's continually self-updating so that you never, you know, I had added a column to the one I did before, that we did before was, and the applicable grants that you could go after. Was it was it available for TIP grants? Was it available for a Mass Works grant? Was it available, just so you could keep that funding reference as well, for future reference if you start to look at the road and say, it takes 2 years, takes 7 years to get a Mass Works grant.
Right.
Let's start now.
Let's get it
Okay.
going.
That is something I could look into, and then we do have to probably figure out where all the speed limit signs in town are.
So
at some point.
is that literally a twofer where if you get the right consultant, is it a consultant issue?
Yeah, you'd
Is that what you're
you'd
saying?
hire an outfit that does these kinds of things.
Okay, and so is it a twofer where while they're out assessing your pavement, they can also identify where your posted signs are?
Well, I think
or
we could
do you
put
need
that in
two
the scope.
separate? Oh, okay.
I think I would try to put that in the scope of works that we're
Okay.
gonna. So let me look into that, with Tom's help at some point, if I have questions about it. I'd like to see if
What?
the next community compact round, we could go after. One of the best practices would be an update to that. Don't want to see the old one, but an update to the road inventory. And maybe we can do some more. Now they're GPSing things on the road.
Right.
We want every culvert, every bridge marked so that he has coordinates for things.
Yeah, we have to do that now for all the Chapter 90 stuff.
Right. They want to know a GPS on everything.
Oh,
So if we
so
got
is-
that as part of our inventory.
Oh, that would be
GPS
awesome,
roads,
right? So then
Culverts,
you would,
bridges.
Right now, we just do it on the piece that we're gonna repair. We have to go in and GPS it all and send all the markings.
Gotcha. Okay, so you have fragments here and there depending on where you've done your projects. So this would fill in all of the gaps where you haven't
Right.
done projects. And then if you needed to do a project, one, it's already done, but two, if we end up getting more grant money or something like that, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, it would definitely help on a lot of things.
Okay.
I mean, back when we had the flood, there was a lot of guessing when we had the flood back 2 years ago with the length and the conditions, and that's part of all this that's coming into play now.
Okay, so it gives you, I'm not familiar with it. I want to ask like a Mary question. So when they go out, what exactly do they do? And what do they see? And what do they record? So it gives us a before picture on certain roads. So if Gulf Road experiences damage again because of the storm that we had last year, then
Right.
we've got the before picture already captured.
It's not so much pictures. You get the
I mean, not
GPS
picture,
of
but-
the size of the culvert, so then they can determine, even if we upsize it, if it's not big enough because this happened again. That's one of the things that we're looking at down on 4 Mile Brook because of how many times that's washed out.
Okay,
Mitigation,
Right.
gotcha.
So
hazard mitigation.
Yeah,
Can
not so much a
sometimes up the
picture as the
project.
before
Condition.
situation, all the conditions before. Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to end up talking about that then at some point?
Yeah, I'm going to investigate the community compact program. I believe that there's one of the best practices. People are using it to do that kind of thing. So
Okay.
I think that that's an avenue. If not, I mean, it's obviously something Tom and his highway crew could do in their spare time. It would take forever to go road by road and GPS and mark all the culverts. It makes sense to hire an outfit that does this, and there are several, to have them come in, take everything we know, and then go through. This is not layout. This is not road layout. We're not
Right.
having them all come in and lay out. That's an
Right.
engineer. That's a much different, more expensive
This is
proposition.
an inventory.
Correct.
Okay,
So,
with measurements and the like.
I'll look into the possible grant funding on that,
Okay.
and if not, maybe we'll can still get a quote. And we can figure out how to move forward with that as a project, because I think it's an invaluable project for the town to have going forward.
Okay.
Database.
Anything else on that?
So just overall, Tom, things going good at the highway? Boys
Yeah.
are staying nice and
Yeah,
happy?
We've got we did a lot of projects this summer. We got a lot of things unfinished still. I mean, because
Yeah.
we were kind of raced to do a bunch of paving before the price went up in the spring. So they were out today doing people's driveways and some edging. That where lips have been left before winter gets here and snow flies up on the mountain on Gulf Road and stuff.
Did you guys just do Bennett?
We
That
did
whole
Bennett, yeah,
stretch.
we just
Every
paved
time I
that.
go to the transfer station, it looks a little different.
Yeah,
every
but they
week.
just paved that a couple weeks ago, and they put the lines on
They put
it.
the lines on it.
Finally,
yes,
yeah, that was.
and the lips and the gullies going into the.
Yeah,
The
those
drains,
are all
yeah.
redone. We still got the edging
Looks
to
great.
do and stuff, but that probably won't get done till spring. We'll clean the edges all up, and we got some more new guardrail to go up on the top section.
Okay, so this is a nice segue into what's on your. I know you always have a list in your head, and you're always concerned about what. Oh, I would love to get to that one, or I know people want me to go get to that one. So can you give us an overview of what would you, if time and money and people were not
Well, next
In
year,
the way,
next
what-
year right
what would you
now
like to
is
do?
already. I mean, I'd like next year just to clean up all the. We haven't. There's still like 3 roads from the flood that have to be finished, completed with new culverts, because we got into a problem again this year, not being able to get culverts towards the end of the year. So that's. I would like to clean up. We got the end of Old Wendell Road to finish cleaning up.
Yeah.
Once Ferry Road. And then we've started down on Ferry Road and had to stop because we couldn't get the materials down at the farms. We've got like 75% of that job done.
Which one's Ferry Road?
The last one in Northfield, across from the cemetery down by the mountain project.
Oh, okay.
On the right.
Lower Farms Road connects to it.
And what were the 3 ones that you wanted to do that you mentioned right off the bat?
Munch Ferry and Old Wendell Road we haven't had time to get back to them since the
Okay.
flood happened. So like it's the last 4 houses on Old Wendell Road on the top side,
Mm-hmm.
down over the hill where it got damaged real bad. It's kind of a temporary fix on that. And that was I want to get things cleaned up. We got all the blacktop and stuff to get cleaned up. Plus, we started North Lane, and we were gonna pave that,
Oh,
but
right.
the paving got messed up with the scheduling because they were so busy. So I actually had 6 roads they were gonna pave, and because I don't like paving in November, it's too cold. But we
Yeah,
we
really
did a
cold.
piece on Gulf Road to get done the last little stretch that was loaded with potholes. And then we did Bennett Brook because we changed the intersection, we raised it all up.
Mm-hmm.
But North Lane is gonna get done in the spring. We kind of promised them that it'd be done now, but the residents understood everything. We've discussed, we did start doing some work there.
Okay.
And there was some issues of where we could run the drainage and couldn't run the drainage.
Right.
And I think we finally figured all that out right now.
Oh, great.
But it just got too late in the year. Plus
Yep.
the sewer department's gonna do a little bit of work on that road.
Okay.
So they're getting ready to have everything in line so this spring we can do that road.
Okay.
And then we were gonna try to do Burnham Road as well with the
The
RAP
bridge.
money. We had some RAP money, paving 213,000.
What's RAP?
Was the but it was recovery money from winter.
Rapid recovery
Oh,
or something.
okay.
Money
Yeah,
from the
winter
winter.
Gotcha.
rapid.
We had like 213,000.
Okay.
Some of that was
Basically
used.
additional chapter 90.
Okay.
Right. Some of it was used on Bennett Brook, and then I'm gonna have to use a small piece on Gulf Road because we didn't have all the Chapter 90 approved to finish that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a small section up top from Brownings back to the top of the hill. We didn't have money to get the paving done, and so that was supposed to be done this fall too, but that'll be done in the spring.
Okay.
So hopefully, and then I've decided to spray the hill with an oil and rubber mix. So I'm hoping it stops some of the accidents up there on the steep part of Gulf Road, going up where it's blacktop now. We're gonna spray the rubber and chip seal from not quite Alexander Hill, a little bit closer from there to the top of the hill and do a trial. Because we did it on South Mountain Road and it helped a lot. And South Mountain obviously is a lot steeper than Gulf, but I know last year with the ice, even we had troubles getting up there. With the trucks and coming down. I mean, I plowed that route last year and
Yeah.
it was horrible with the new blacktop on it. Before, when it was all ratty and everything else, at least when the truck started sliding, it would stop when it hit something. So we're gonna do a trial up there. I've been talking to a couple salesmen about it, and the same with like Bennett Brook, where not quite done. That's going to get sprayed. A lot of these roads will get sprayed, which will make the road go. It should go another 8-9 years.
Wow.
But we do have some stuff that just popped up that I've known about it, but it's gotten worse. Is from Gill Center Road to the top of the hill, just above Bennett Brook. The drainage pipes are collapsing under the road and on the side of the road. We just filled in a big washout over there. So that's going to be addressed this spring.
Okay.
The culvert's all rotted. So
Where's the
basically you got a
culvert?
hole and there's drains all down the hill. They start at the very top of that hill.
Yeah.
I think there's 8 drains that come down and all tie together and then they go over the bank. Well, when we dug it up, there's nothing really but a hole in the road. The metal's all rotted. So now
Oops.
the road's starting to collapse and cave in. The catch basins are all in good shape, but they have to be brought up to code.
Okay.
So the big thing is to figure out, we're hoping we don't have to dig down because it's like 9 or 10 feet deep to the old culverts, but the new ones only have to go in at like 2 feet deep. So we're trying to figure, I'm working with another contractor to see if we can pump grout into the collapsing ditches next year so we don't have to dig the hole, all the road up all the way. Otherwise it's just going to keep, if we were to pave it, it would settle is what will happen.
Oh, so if you put grout in there, then you kind of give yourself a foundation for like just the two.
The grout will harden like cement
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it won't collapse. So
Okay.
rather than excavate down 9 or 10 feet,
Yep.
because all we're doing is digging down to collapse the hole that's there and take any rotten pipe
Yeah.
out, then you got to compact it all the way back up to the top. So this will save us. It'll be expensive, but in the end, it's going to be cheaper than us having to excavate everything.
So does all of this go into the inventory then, like the conditions and
Right,
whichever?
as you did this, you would update.
Right.
If we had an inventory,
Oh,
you'd be able to
wow.
update, did the culverts in spring of 2023. And then somebody,
Okay.
forever, people would know when was the culvert replaced, when was it, because now you look back on all this work, some of this, and you're like, I have no idea when they did that.
No, I have a lot of it actually marked in the, each day my guys make out a form that,
I'll go
where they
back
work
20
and what they
years.
do.
Oh, like a log?
Yeah, and
Oh.
they turn that in, and then my secretary puts it on whatever road they worked on.
Oh, like a
So
spreadsheet or something?
yeah,
or?
she has. So when she comes in each week, she takes their timesheets, and she puts down, well, they brought up 10 loads of gravel or whatever we did, and
Yeah.
the time that we spent on it. So I have that stuff in a database right now. As to what we've kind of done,
Wow.
it's unfinished to some stuff. Like I said, because you got this little bit of things, the oil and stone to do, or
Yeah.
a couple more culverts, or
Well, like I said, there's always stuff to
There's
do.
never an end zone.
It never ends.
End
No.
zone.
no.
We
The
just
big
keep-
thing
we
is
keep coming
being
full
able to get the
circle back,
products.
yeah.
Right, the products is the hardest thing right now, and the cost of the products. I mean, the cost
So
of any
getting the
products.
products and the cost of the products.
There's no guarantee.
Still.
If I call today for a piece of pipe, if I don't order it today, next week, if it's changed $1, $2, that's what we're paying.
Yeah.
They're not even, there's a lot of things, like pipe, for instance, some of the fabrics we use under the road, they won't even bid in the county bid anymore because the changes too much. And the availability of it, if these people commit to it, I mean, I understand it, they're not making it fast enough.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Are there, I guess, two questions. One is, does doing the inventory, once this is all captured, does this help us with, some of those one-offs that we had when we went through the town meeting records, like Alexander Hill and the meadow down by the sewer plant and,
It does and it doesn't, because if you go by that book that we all have,
yeah,
it says what we all interpret. It's how you interpret it. It's like Alexander Hill, for instance, it says,
right.
is it 0.5,
0.08,
0.05 or
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's whatever they put in, and what did we determine yesterday? 85, I think.
86,
was when
right, it's in the 80s, so it's kind of, we need to actually make
I'm
that
just-
more official, really need to.
Right, I'm just wondering,
Put
because
some
what we
on.
had talked about doing was correcting things so that we don't continue to have the same discussions with no resolution, which is, your understanding is one thing, and then based on what it says, and then some, citizens' understanding is a different one.
Mhm.
And then we have like a handful of roads that people continue to question when, I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity in here to, as we're capturing all that information, if we needed to address, okay, our ownership of XYZ road, then we can do that at the town meeting in one of the warrants and just clean up whatever was not clear from the 80s.
Yeah, we
Is
can go
that-
through it this winter and I'll
Okay.
kind
Well,
of pick through it and then we'll, yeah, I mean, it could be part of all this.
Ultimately, right,
Yeah.
once you, if they have to do a little bit of research that you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. And then the second thing, is there any other projects that are, because we're going into budget cycle, so are there any other projects that the FinCom's going to be interested in that are not roads, but they're related to the town build, like the town hall parking lot and,
That's on the schedule. We already have the money, so
oh, okay.
with any
That's
luck,
got it.
it'll
Yeah,
get
that has
done
an
this
account.
spring.
Okay, so we're good to go on that?
As far as
or-
we know, as long as the prices on things don't change too.
Is that on your
Sounds-
schedule then?
Yeah, I plan on doing it first thing this spring.
That's a nice surprise, Tom, thank you. Okay.
I think we've got everything somewhat squared away, so hopefully
Wow.
this
Is there anything else like the town hall parking lot, that's not a road necessarily, but that has kind of
No.
always been on your list? No?
that's about the last thing since I've been here.
Oh, wow.
Because we've talked about it since
We're
I've
gonna have
been
to have
here.
like a big party after that.
Oh, yes, there will
Party.
be.
Oh, yeah.
In the parking
Tailgating
lot.
in the parking.
Get a good temporary liquor license.
In the rain. And then we'll just all watch the drainage. Okay.
Well,
any
no,
other-
that's the plan right now is to do that right off. Because there's some good sized
Look at that,
holes
it's
starting out
raining.
there.
Say that again,
There's
I'm
some
sorry.
good sized holes starting outside the back door and stuff there. So.
Yeah, I'm worried about we're always concerned about the senior citizens, and I
Yeah,
saw some of them coming out with walkers, and now we've got the automatic door, so it was just like so great to see we've got the automatic door, and then they come out and it's just like it's starting to crumble around there, so.
Yeah.
Big swamp.
No, I mean, other than that, Josh has gone over, I think everything, he got prices
Great.
all but the doors, I think he sent to me today,
Okay,
for any other projects, but
any other questions then? Do you have any questions for us, how we can support you?
nothing that I know of, everything seems to be going, we'll have a couple tree hearings coming up.
Okay, good to know.
Could I jump ahead for 1 minute to
Yes,
the recognition for service since Tom's sitting here? I really
Yeah.
wanted to thank Tom and the crew because they've actually been worked multiple times with our consultants on the emergency services building. So they've gone over there and done some of the digging and
Oh, that's right.
all that kind of thing to really help save the town having to pay someone, if they take their time to go over there with the backhoe and do the test pits or the various things. So
Yeah.
I don't know if people
Great job.
recognize that, yes, it's emergency services building, but actually Highway has also done some work on that project. So
Well,
I
and
wanted
your
to
team shows
point that
up.
out.
You work very closely with emergency services
Yeah.
and dispatch because when we had the fire and the accident, you guys, one thing I've learned over the years is you guys are part of that whole team as well. So, so thank you for
Yeah.
that. I think it's important to recognize
Well,
just
yeah.
what the extent of your role is in the town.
No, everybody seems to be working together good and everything, it works out, I mean,
Okay, great. There you go. Okay. Anything else? No? Any other questions? No? Thank you very,
All right.
very much.
All
right,
This was
Tom.
an awesome
No, I'm
update and
satisfied.
discussion.
all right, have a good night.
Thank
Hopefully
Thank you,
it's-
Tom. Thanks so much for your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Anytime.
That was
Anytime.
great.
Really.
Okay, all right. Good deal, you guys. Okay, let's see, we need a motion for the warrant.
All right, I'll make a motion to
Excellent.
approve the November 30th, 2022 payroll warrant of $65,002.36.
Motion and a,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And then the vendor warrant,
I'll make a motion to approve the 11/30/2022 vendor warrant of $796,049.32. It's a big number, which includes the emergency services facility, real estate, community combat, fiscal year 21, and Mass Works.
gotcha, motion and a
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Review and approval of the minutes.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate the minutes. I don't usually have a whole lot to say during minutes. But this one is really good because I like the fact that we have certain quotes in there regarding, you know, the SRO and funding priorities and stuff like that. And the language in there is perfect, and I know that Heath would appreciate that too.
Well, we all do, I think.
Yeah.
Because this, one, it's not easy to keep track of. And
No.
then two, to have it there, I often go back to the meeting minutes just to, in preparation for another meeting, because we're going to be doing that joint meeting again at the end of January.
I mean,
And
yeah.
touching base again on those
Exactly.
topics.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say here is like
Yep.
at the bottom where it says DASTU responded funding and fiscal priorities would guide the decision. If the town provided the entire cost of the SRO, DASTU did not anticipate a problem with having the position in the school. That's just really good minute taking right there, and just solid material that is now going to be on the town record once we approve these minutes. So
Excellent.
Here, here.
it just
Yep.
means a lot
Yeah.
to see those types of things in there.
Well, thank you, Sandra, as always.
Yep.
I know some of these aren't easy meetings, because she actually sits there and rewatches them.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes from November 15th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Interim select board meetings. We had the Six-Town,
Regional.
Six-Town
Organizational
Regional
liaison.
Planning Commission. We all attended, except for Alex, I think. The rest of us were there. So that was our interim select board meeting. Thought that was,
Yeah, what would you like to say about that, V? Anything?
I ended up with quite a few contacts from Bernardston as a result of that meeting. So I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards to chat about my questions and,
That you didn't get to ask?
correct,
Right.
I hope some of those comments were apologies on someone else's behalf.
yes.
Yeah.
Apparently I'm not the only,
No, we were all dismayed by it.
no, this happened to
Oh.
other people. So other folks let me know that.
Is there technically somebody who's chairing those meetings?
Yes, they have a chair.
They do, and the feedback that I gave, because you remember you and I went last year when it was over at PVRS. It was a different meeting, and there was it was an update. It was a similar. Here's the enrollment. Here's
Okay.
all the, and we were sitting there, and there was a little bit of contention in the presentation. Or
And I
the
remember
questioning.
when we went to the senior center one time, their former finance director got up and
Stormed out.
walked out because someone threw some snide comments there
Yeah.
as well. So I don't have very good memories of these joint meetings.
that's a
Luckily, it's
different- that's a
isolated.
different
That's a different one.
That was a different one. Okay.
Yes.
The
That's a
sixth, that
different
was
one.
the joint finance
That
committee
was-
meetings put on by the finance.
Okay, you're right. Yep.
Brutal.
No, this was.
It's a blur.
So what I did was I went up afterwards and I spoke to the chair and the vice chair of the planning commission, and I said, I really appreciate all the time and energy that gets put in. I said, when I went to the meeting last year, I think there's so much information to communicate that that all the planning board members have been involved in, and they're all have their own specialties and points that they want to get across. I said it actually leaves really very little time for question and answer. And I think that's where we butted heads, so to speak, is because I was frustrated. I had a long list. And then the guy who yelled at me was frustrated because then he had his whole thing that he wanted to talk about as well.
Except that he had so much time.
Yes,
to
I know.
Say something. He didn't
No, but-
say anything until you did.
Yeah, but my point, constructive follow-up to that incident was that my suggestion is please allow enough time or break down the topics in such a way that if you have that much to say and then there's only a little bit of time for those of us who need to get up to speed on it, and we can't get all the questions out, then maybe the format of these updates need to change. Because most of the people who spoke before me, other than you two, were folks from the planning board
Right.
who were offering their additional information, and I understand that desire to do that. It just kind of left the rest of us, especially me, with long lists, but I
If they
got
want
them
these,
answered.
if they want these things to if they want this effort to pass, they really need to allow some vetting and answers of questions, because
It's
if the questions are
hard.
left unanswered, at this point, I'm not supporting this entire thing. So, I mean,
It's
they
hard.
need to be able to answer the questions so the public is going to feel comfortable moving in the direction they suggest.
Yeah,
So-
and I wasn't really great at communicating that. I just think that if I spend a lot of time doing my homework and I still don't understand it, then I don't know for folks who don't have don't put in all the same time watching YouTube that I do. Anywho, it was well received. Let me just say that. I had some great conversations after that meeting. And then, okay, meetings and events, I'll get on to the follow-up meeting. Bernie, meetings and events since our last,
Okay.
November 15th. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been 3 weeks.
Had the annual Friends of the Northfield Seniors, we did board appointments. So I had that meeting. I took an enterprise accounting class
Oh, cool.
on November 17th. But,
Is that exciting?
oh, yeah. Well, I'm an accountant too, so.
All right.
So it's all right. But then, of course, the regional meeting. And I went to something, and no, not really a meeting, but I saw something on Nextdoor about Thomas Aquinas College having a service of lessons and carols.
Oh,
And I went to that,
What was that?
and it was fantastic. I mean, their
Were you in
their
the
music,
chapel?
yeah. I
oh,
was in
nice.
the chapel is beautiful, but their music program, their chorus and their director, I mean, it was fabulous. You know,
Oh, how nice.
yeah.
I wish I had.
I mean, I sat there for 2 hours. I mean, yeah, it was not short, but I enjoyed every moment of it.
Excellent.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay, Mary?
I also attended the regional meeting,
Yep.
which was very informative. And I also was honored to be the official raffle ticket picker at the Kiwanis Club's annual raffle that joined suit with the Northfield Elementary School's book fair, and there was a craft fair, and it was a holiday fair at Northfield Elementary this past Saturday. And fun was had by all.
Excellent.
It was a rainy day, but boy, people sure showed up.
Oh, good job.
Yep.
Oh, excellent.
So I love doing that for them. I love the Kiwanis organization. Good
See,
folks.
and then that's another way that the select
Yeah.
board's involved in the community. too,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Showing up for stuff like that.
Right. And that's it for me right now. Bea.
Okay, Heath?
Just our joint meeting. That was all I had since our last.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, in addition to the meeting, the Regional Planning Committee, I have had an Animal Control Advisory Committee meeting, which I chair. We only meet once in a while, and it's mostly to accept new members into the district. So
Quite popular district now.
we're very popular. We're getting bigger, and
Why
we
is
have
that?
a part-time, because once you learn that there's a professional animal control person in place with well-crafted bylaws, everybody wants in.
More than
And
one person now, too, right?
No, there's more than
No.
one person. She went through all of her training, and she was up and running, I think, by the end of September. So that means we're also getting more coverage, and we're getting more coverage on the weekends.
Wow.
And our assessment is going down because we have more towns to spread the cost out.
Nice.
Yes, so I'm happy to report that. We had an ARPA meeting, so the results of which we're going to be discussing. And we're also going to do a little bit of a discussion on ARPA and looking ahead to what we also see coming. I went to the PVRS budget subcommittee meeting
Oh
following.
yeah, I couldn't make that.
I went to that, and my nemesis was there as well, so
Mhm.
kept a close eye on the discussion.
No, he was?
Yep. And it was actually quite helpful. They did a whole presentation that was sent out. So I think you emailed it to the rest of the board since I couldn't. And it laid out their priorities and some of the themes that they're going to be addressing that we're going to revisit at the end of January with them again. Because what we did on November 15th was kick it off, and then we'll see how this is all playing out. But I will say, good coordination and communication with Bernardston-Northfield on concerns about the Warwick withdrawal, the impact on the towns, good responses from the Director of Finance and Operations. So we're going to wait and see how this plays out, but there is concern about our assessment going up, right? If one of the towns withdraws, then, and Northfield is the biggest percentage of the PVRS budget. And it's sizable, it's at least 2/3, or around 2/3 currently of our town budget. So that's why this year I'm kind of devoting myself to doing more homework on how all the finances come together for the town, because PVRS, even though we don't have purview over the school committee, that budget coming in we have responsibility along with the finance committee. We have direction over the way the whole town is going. And the other concern that I mentioned to them was this is a really important year for Northfield because we're putting the public safety building in front of residents. So it's just going to, if there's going to be a major increase on the school side, it's really going to make it difficult to talk about the public safety building, I think. I think we're going to get a lot of concerned citizens. So so similar themes were mentioned by the select board members that were there from the various towns. And I'm going to stay in closer contact with my contacts from Bernardston-Northfield.
Great.
I'll let you know how it works out.
Yeah.
And then Drea and I are still involved with First Light in the FERC negotiations. That will be coming before this board. I don't know about the 20th. They're really shooting. We have more meetings scheduled in December. I did indicate that we needed plenty of time, particularly around the holidays, because we need the public. They're going to want to weigh in, and I'm not going to hurry that process along. So anyway, so heads up on that. And that's it. Alex?
Just one meeting that I took with one of the business park committee members that I'll discuss about when it comes time.
Great. Okay. Town administrator update.
Have a couple, few.
Excellent. Yeah.
First and foremost, you now own the property adjacent on the other side of the library. That building, that property closed last Wednesday.
Yay.
Wow.
Congratulations.
So the property is now owned by the town. Deal's done. Deed is done. I went down and I registered the plan, and it's all done. So town owns the property.
That's great.
Excellent.
Community Compact IT grant. It's actually in Boston today, and was one of the things I was in Boston for. The town, we just a small one, but number 7. I have to say, State Director Sean Cronin recognized that Northfield's probably had the most in the last 3 years of any town.
No way!
We have had 7 in the last
7
3 years.
Sean Cronin
Community
recognized
Compact grants.
Oh, really?
Because they do IT, they do regionalization,
Right.
and they do best practices, and we've done 4 best practices.
Good for us.
Regionalization and 2 IT, so we're at number 7 now. So this was just
We're on the map, so to speak.
so to speak.
Well done.
So $11,000, small one, but to implement network security enhancements for the library, to purchase network switches, wireless access points, firewall-related hardware to improve the library's network and overall performance. So we're going to tighten up the library.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
So we put that grant in for the last minute. She's like, we could get money. I'm like, the IT grant closes in 3 days. Boom, we got it in. But it was, we got our vendor up there. They laid it out, priced all the hardware, put the grant in, and so they're going to start working on that.
On these 11 grants, like any idea money wise?
160,000 so far.
160,000 over 11
grants.
grants.
7. Just
grants.
those 7 community compact.
Yep.
We've done about 160 altogether.
Wow.
In what amount of time?
3 years.
3 years.
The 3 years I've been here.
It's 160,000. The taxpayers did not have to float.
And some really good things that we needed, like the financial policies and procedures, which we really needed.
We get the expertise too. That's the other key thing.
Yeah, and I
that
think
comes along with the money.
the community one that worked on talking about our police, fire, and EMS, which kind of helped segue into, I think, a real public presentation on the need for the new building. It kind of opened that door, talking about those departments, talking about those. That was one of the first things we did, and then the best financial policies and procedures, which we were absolutely desperately going to need. First of all, I think we should just memorialize them anyway. It's important. Some we did just fine. We just got them down writing. Others we needed to do update. You know, things just change over time, and you're going to need those to bond for this process. So those two went hand in hand and kind of kicked off, I think, the process by which we're now going through the emergency services facility. So those two were way back in the beginning. And then we did $30,000 here for 2 new servers. We did the efficiency and regionalization grant, which is what we're going under right now for the
EMS.
For EMS.
Yep.
To study the ambulance. And I have 2 other grants that we're under right now for best practices, where we're looking at the budgeting document and okay, it escapes me. The other efficiency. I mean, I keep thinking of the the classification, the wage classification survey.
Oh,
so
right.
that kicks off in January.
The salary grid.
That was the other best practice, and that's the program
Yippee.
that I think in a year's time, when we go for our next community compact, that we can look at possibly the road condition and culvert and GPS things. So I'm going to look at that field for the next round of community compacts. You get 2 every 2 years, so I don't like to lose momentum on those. When the
You like
next one's up,
to fill the pipeline so you're ready to go as soon as the
So,
gates
yeah.
open. She's like dropping in an
priorities. It's the
application.
priorities that you guys stimulate you.
It's working. Thank you.
We finally got to spend the grant that we got for $2,500 back in March for AED equipment because we keep a defibrillator in each police vehicle. This was a grant for police, and we had to replace one that was actually in the chief's cruiser. So we just got the new defibrillator in a week ago, maybe. So now all the police cruisers again have AEDs.
And they're $2,500?
$2,500.
I forgot to mention in my meetings, I did a ride along with the police.
Oh.
On a Sunday, I went out with John Cowan for like 2.5 hours.
Jeez.
Write some tickets.
Not me personally, but
But she saw a few in progress.
well, actually, this is going to tie into ARPA, and that's what reminded me was I got to see the inside of the vehicle and how he uses the equipment. And I'm so excited that we're using ARPA money to replace their technical equipment in there. And I said I want to do another ride along afterwards so I can see what the changes.
Compare it, yeah.
Yeah, kind of compare. Because there's a lot of hesitation. And then when he got out of the vehicle, I could hear dispatch wanting to talk to him, and his, in certain spots, the connection to his, the radio that he has up here
He
wasn't.
didn't have the repeater.
He'd have to come back into the car and actually, because they didn't have the repeater.
So did you just go to Chief Hall and ask for some ride-along time?
Yeah, well, it was suggested by John and Gary Sibilia way back, I don't know, like pre-COVID at one of the town meetings or something, when we were talking about the police chief priorities when we were starting the search, I think. And I said, yeah, I'd love to do a ride along. I just want to see what's happening in there.
Definitely.
Anyway, so I didn't want to detract, but
Nice.
I just wanted to, and I said to Chief Hall, they're open to doing it, so feel free to ask. But I think I got a really good overview of both the inside of the vehicle, although I wasn't going to volunteer to use the rifle in case of emergency. But it was just like, he's like, here's the radio. Do you know how to handle firearms? I'm like, no. And then I turn around, there's the firearm. They've got like a little printer in there, and they've got all kinds of radios and their iPad, you know, and there's like just enough room to kind of hang out and watch what's going on. But
And they all have SUVs now, right?
yes.
Yep.
Yep. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that too in the ARPA discussion. So
Okay.
stay tuned. But
Excellent.
thanks for letting me interrupt. That's
fine.
important. I wanted to do a shout out to Officer Cowan too for spending the
Definitely.
time.
That was nice of him.
So we got a Maya safety grant. It's about $4,400. This is for guardrails and fall protection equipment at the transfer station. So come next spring, there's some places where it's been recommended by insurance that we put up some guardrails for public safety when they're throwing away their various raised platforms. So,
Yeah.
and for the workers and for the public. So
Huh.
that we're getting that through Maya Safety Grant.
Oh, good.
Then Shell Bridge. I spoke with Senator Comerford a few weeks back. She was going to talk to Mass DOT, see where things are at. And she also reached out to Congressman McGovern, who I spoke to when he was at NMH when I went to that presentation. The only thing I referenced him was, "Hi, I'm Andrea Longsteiners from Northfield, Shell Bridge." Kind of how the conversation went.
Right.
But she's reached out to him as well to try to advocate for the bridge and engage the rest of the federal delegation as well, because we're waiting on a federal grant, is what we're waiting on right now. The latest information from Mass DOT is that the federal grant announcements will be made sometime toward the end of 2022. So we're hoping to hear more in the next few weeks
Oh,
about whether or not whether or not we got that federal grant.
Mhm.
We don't know. But they don't really have much more information. We're kind of all in a hold and wait pattern, see if we can get some funding. So
Right.
I'm hoping that grant comes through. We shall see. Just giving you a quick update on the opioid settlement funds.
the myriad of opioids.
The 3 different entities, the
Yeah.
distributor lawsuit, the Johnson & Johnson lawsuit, and the Sheriff's Department sent some money through one of the lawsuit settlements they had. So,
I don't
Where-
know what this is about.
well, this is all the opioid settlements that after the states sued the opioid distributors from during the opioid crisis. They had to settle up because they were doing deceptive practices,
Of
basically
course.
to hook people on opioids.
Yeah.
And so the state said, we've spent an awful lot of money and seen an awful lot of damage wreaked on our families and our residents and our health services and
Law
all that to deal
enforcement.
with the results of this.
Yeah.
So there were many lawsuits, and
Yeah,
these things are
okay.
going forward. We will continue to receive some of those settlements over the next few
Is it
years.
coming from the Sackler family?
Well,
Should
they
come
call
from the
that the
doctors who wrote the
distributor,
prescription.
so I don't know. The state requires we use these for substance abuse, disorder prevention, harm reduction, treatment and recovery. So now that we kind of have settlement money, we have to keep that separate for that reason, for one of those reasons. So I need to meet with police and EMS and there may be even regional suggestions, but things that we can do with those funds that would enhance programs for
If we
our
combine
community.
with other towns, you mean?
We
'Cause
can
everybody-
possibly
okay.
do regional
Oh,
things. So,
okay.
Small towns, we don't get a ton. So the idea is, is there something we can do together? Is there something our local EMS or police can be
Little
using those
outreach
funds?
program.
So we're working on that. The auction, which you all might remember, signed off on all that stuff
Yep.
to go to auction. $35,647.50.
Wow.
So
Nice.
auction closed out, sold everything.
There you
We don't
go.
pay any fees out of that, the purchaser does, so all the proceeds come to the town. Just to update on the water district, last time we were here, I said we were having a meeting on the 17th, 2 days later. The meeting was held down at the DEP office in Springfield. Basically, it was to discuss DEP requirements and permitting that will have to be addressed for the transfer of the company to a district, from the actual transfer of the assets from the company to the district. Discussed regulatory obligations, feasibility, transfer requirements. There is an online permitting process and documentation required by DEP. No one's rushing into that until we reviewed everything, but they wanted to have a good handle on what DEP is going to require and what we're going to have to work out with DEP as that process moves forward.
Okay.
So we had that meeting. I think I finally closed out the lightning strike. We finally had
Ooh.
the final submission of about $12,000, which was all the fire alarm work. That was the last bill we got in.
12,000.
And so the final accounting on DEP district meeting, $41,463.88. Then we have to do $1,000 deductible. So
Right.
that would be the cost of it. And I think we are finally done.
away.
And we've gotten
Concluding
most
it?
everything reimbursed except for the last piece. So I have to put a couple of bills in because we've gotten paid for those. And then we have one more that I just put in for the fire alarm work, and hopefully we'll get paid for that, and that will all be closed out.
Mhm.
Excellent.
That is me.
Okay.
Wow,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Andrea.
Holy moly.
For all your
See
hard
what
work.
3 weeks gives us. Okay, So let's dive right into ARPA then. We've got some good discussion points. And then we're going to need to rock and roll our way through the renewals. Okay. Do you want to start, Andrea? Talk
Sure,
about the town hall door locks.
Right, so there's 3 requests basically before you for ARPA. The town hall door locks, this is really to finish up a project that we started back when we put in the meeting room doors and the outside doors. And part of it was a security issue, so we immediately did the outside doors and the meeting room doors. But we're still dealing with the issue, and there's a lot of keys out there that go to people's offices. But more than that, we're at a kind of a crunch point. The keys you buy to use here are not the same. You can't go to the local hardware store and have the keys made.
Right.
These are very expensive, do not duplicate. We are in some places at rooms where we have like literally no keys left. So we either have to order keys and start buying keys for some of these places, and it tells me something when we have no keys left to an office, and yet there's 10 of them hanging for a different room. I'm sure they all had the same amount at some point.
Too many out. Too many out of your control.
Right.
That's not
So
good.
I said, let's just find out what the cost would be to just finish the building so that the offices now are on the same system as the meeting rooms in the building.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that request. You have that request before you. That is $25,151, and that includes. Well, it also includes having
So we've got the locksmith.
locksmith come and actually core out all the doors.
Yeah.
So that they no longer also work with the key. Because if you change them to the key fob, that's great. But if the key also works, defeats the purpose.
Right.
So you do have to have the locksmith also come, and we'll go to a master key, of which we'll have several, and we'll put them in like fire and police. And we do have a lock box on the back of town hall. So we would have a master key system that would still be able to be used, but it wouldn't be everybody's individual room out to whomever we've issued those keys to.
Right.
So that's the door lock.
From a
request.
safety standpoint, you kind of need both, right? Because
Yeah.
in a safety, wouldn't your electronic
Cor-
clock and
yes.
stuff would not be working? So
Correct,
that's where
and
the
it's very
And the
possible the
database can
first
get
person who
wiped out
responds
on
doesn't
them,
have a
too.
key
Oh,
fob.
really? Okay.
Well, you have to have it on the lockbox because the first person who responds might not have a key fob. So we do have a lockbox on
Okay.
the back of town hall with a code. If we ever had to use it, obviously we would use it, put the key back, and change the code. But that code would be disseminated to fire chief, police chief, highway chief, all those kinds of people that would need that code. But they would also be, obviously, they've also been given the master key, those chiefs. So they would also have that if they had it with them.
And we can
So-
use the proceeds from the auction for it.
Well, the proceeds from the
No,
office go to
that's
general
right.
fund.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
But in a sense, you're right. One hand does wash the other there.
Yeah, right.
So that's that. The treasurer's office equipment, treasurer collector.
Shall we go ahead and do the motion on the
Oh,
locks
okay,
then?
it's up
Because
to you.
I think that's a no-brainer, the safety aspect of this is, and finishing it off professionally, both with physical keys as well as all of the fobs is really important.
So the amount would be $1,300.
No,
25,151.
There's the amount. Okay.
56, which would include the 1,300.
Yes.
it includes that, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for town hall door locks for the town of Northfield in the amount of $25,151.56 to be used from ARPA funds.
Motion and a
Second.
excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cool.
Okay, excellent. Check, now the treasurer collector.
Correct.
officer.
A couple of things came about here. One is that we used to use a company, a business, to do the folding of the bills and the inserts, and stuffing the envelopes. If you think about it, it doesn't seem like a lot, but this is the big send. It's over 1,000. We're sending to anybody who owns a piece of property. We send to personal property. We send out auto excise tax bills, and then during the course of the year, auto excise batches also will go out, and other special mailings from that. We would also be able to use these for sewer bills. We could use these. The company that used to do this
Oh, they
went out of
going-
business.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's a collation machine?
It's a specific
Yeah.
machine, I
Yeah.
think you have a picture of some of it in your handout. So that it would basically do the folding, feeding, all in one.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yes, and
Will
so
it stamp as well?
we often buy them pre-stamped.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we were talking about it, the other thing was a shredder. She shreds a lot of, and we have
And
actually.
she has a dinky little shredder.
Well, yeah, like a little office shredder, which,
Oh,
and she has a safe full of checks that need to be shredded. Old checks, old blank checks to accounts that don't exist. And they're all locked in a safe, but dude, yeah.
There's not enough hours
In the
and
day
years.
to shred all that, and that would be.
Yeah.
There's also other offices that might avail themselves of this kind of shredder. The town clerk is looking to shred a whole bunch of documents as well, old ballots, certain things that he can shred, but they build up in boxes. And the idea of sitting there with your little office shredder at, maybe 4 or 5 sheets at a time if you're lucky,
yeah.
and maybe,
Before it
maybe a
jams.
staple,
Before
maybe a
it jams.
staple.
Jams over.
Really just makes it a daunting task, and so a lot of people just pile the boxes in their corner.
Excellent. May I make the motion?
Yes. Oh, the other thing that she knows, just from a customer service standpoint, she said this would allow her to, for folks who have more than one property, rather than sending out individual bills, she knows which ones want all of their
In the
stuff
folder.
in one
Yeah.
envelope.
Oh, I must tell her to do that for me too.
Yep,
then.
she'll be able to do that.
Because
right.
they did,
Yeah.
when they weren't able to do that so much, when they did it annually, they just put them all in different ones. But now, when she can pull some of those and just do those manually, the ones that have, some people get like 6 or 8, and so they're not sending 6 or 8 envelopes. You try to catch those
Yeah.
and mail them together.
Okay.
Good. Yes. Please, Mary, motion.
I make a motion to approve from the ARPA funds to approve amount requested $8,975 for office equipment for the town treasurer, requested by Michelle Turner. Separating these, it would be a durable cross-cut shredder and a folder inserter plus stand.
Great. Motion and a.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just so you know,
Good job, Mary.
there's going to be a stuffing party next week because we neither have the person who does the company nor do
the
we have this
machine.
equipment, and I'm going to be fairly useless. So,
Oh, okay.
but
Andrea, what day?
Recruit us.
we don't know yet. We're waiting to hear when she has it from the. But there's also a woman from the housing authority that wants to put a mailer in, so we've recruited her. We
Okay,
said,
well-
you want to put a mailer in? Come and stuff.
Oh.
Well, you send me the request if I'm not doing
Well,
anything.
we will send it out, and anybody who wants to come and
Who's
partake.
available?
The more hands, the lighter the load.
Yep.
So we
And
will be
when
doing
is
it.
that?
Well, it's
Teamwork
going to be
makes
next
the
week,
dream
but
work.
she's waiting to see what day she gets it from the.
And how will we
printer.
be?
I can alert people if
yeah.
you would like to partake.
Just alert
if you're
me, will you?
available.
Just alert me.
We'd
Text.
be happy to have
Yeah.
volunteers.
The bat signal will go
Yeah,
off
the
on
bat
town hall.
signals. Yeah. Okay, that's all good. I mean, I'm all for office equipment to, make things way more efficient.
I want to
Bring
see
us
how
up
that
to
works.
the times.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
She'll
Oh,
be
so it'll be like a
happy.
before and an after. You'll see what it's like to stuff individual envelopes, and then
Yeah.
once you get the equipment, we
I'm
can
pretty
offer
sure I
that.
know how to do that.
The last
Yeah.
one here is one that
Oh, this
probably
is an
most
oldie.
of you don't actually recognize, but it was
Oh,
actually.
I remember this.
You were
Alex
probably the only
will.
one
Oh,
here.
yes.
When we
The
talked
desk.
about this desk, of course, COVID shut down the shop, so we couldn't really buy it. But there was a talk to make this room a little bit more functional because by buying this equipment, by having this made, it's custom solid wood made because it's
I
made by
should hope so.
MassCore. It's MassCore. And I saw some samples, pictures. They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. But it would be a curved desk, and then it would make it more efficient rather than this arrangement here for people to sit at
And
the
you can
desk.
see where the door is in the drawing here, right?
Looks
Yes.
like we'd be sitting a lot closer to each other.
I'd like to know more about those chairs because I like this chair.
I often wondered how you stayed in that chair so long. Out of
I-
all
Favorite.
people.
That's my favorite chair.
Okay.
So,
We're gonna put a sign on
and
the
I
back.
believe it has a lip too, so it's higher up. So
oh, I like
they
to
would
sit.
you wouldn't be
and I
hearing
need a
all this
little height.
rustling of papers per se. And
Well,
then
the
hopefully,
thing I was thinking of was that if we spread out more this way, then we have more room
For people.
for
Definitely.
audience.
yeah.
Because
But what is this image of?
That's just showing you the wood
that's the
front,
base.
the base in the front.
Okay.
That's looking at it. From,
Okay.
So
You can't see the curve in it, but that would be the.
What do you
I
think,
see.
Alex? Did you
At the
guys
time-
talk about this
At the time, I was very vocal against this expense. I don't know why. I just thought it was a waste of money. But my opinion has changed now. Believe it or not, people's opinions can change in politics. So mine has. So
What?
I would like.
Alex, before you make the motion, can I just say, was your decision based on when you just had 3 people on the select board?
Yes, that was part of it because I couldn't justify having a big bunch of fancy tables with just 3 people. But now that we're 5, town's growing, things are getting bigger, there's papers all over the place now. It just seems like a more realistic thing to do, especially since it's ARPA funded. So that's another nice thing. Yeah,
Great.
but
Any
Although
other-
it was a bit cheaper,
it was cheaper
but
than, yeah.
that's because the wood's more expensive.
Well,
It's nothing Masscore can do. I think you'll be amazed at what it looks like.
Can I include in the motion that this chair has to stay?
Yes.
Yeah, you should.
I
keep
think we're
that
going to put
chair.
someday we'll put a little
Vintage.
tag on the back, the memorial.
We're gonna
Alex
put-
Meisner chair.
I would love to do.
Yeah.
The Alex
With a
Meisner.
gold seal.
I need to be
Bernie.
remembered for something someday. It might
Yeah,
be
I-
chair.
Yeah, I noticed the quotes, the original quotes
Yeah.
were much lower, but that's because it's from years ago.
Pre-COVID.
I was adding it up and
Oh,
it wasn't
3.
adding up, and I was like, I know I'm not that tired.
No, you're
Okay,
seeing
but
a
that's what
different.
it's gone up then.
Yeah,
Okay,
You took
Unfortunately.
accounting classes.
that's
Yeah.
right. So you figured it out.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I know
Alright.
we talked about it. They contacted me back. I said I will bring it to the board to discuss, and it isn't a town meeting vote. You're right. So it's up to you whether you want to go this route. But it was something that was discussed, and we did discuss what would happen with 5, but nobody envisioned at the time.
Right.
So now that you have a vision, maybe it feels different.
Okay, so the ARPA committee recommended this. I actually abstained from it because I didn't want to be voting on something that was related to the select board. Heath, did you have some comments and questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to wait till to hear what everybody else's opinion was
Yeah.
before mine swayed anybody. But I am completely against this. I just feel like we could wait to see if there is something else that the money could be better spent on, and then if we're reaching some sort of a deadline where we're not getting any more requests and we're not seeing it, then maybe entertain it then. But I feel like the setup that we have is sufficient. At looking at it, it does look tighter. I feel like with all the paper that we have, we're going to be a little bit more condensed with each other, and you're going to have more of a permanent fixture. If you want to use this room for something else, these are easy to move out of the way and reconfigure. This thing is going to be big, bulky, and pretty permanent. On top of that, I won't go deep into it, but mass core is not something that I'm very much in favor of. I don't like for-profit prisons. I know the criminal justice system all too well from doing it for 2 decades. And I just don't feel right capitalizing off somebody who may be in jail for whatever means. Sometimes it's justified or not, but capitalizing on their incarceration to build us something, I just don't. I've never been a fan of mass core, and I don't want to do anything to support it, so I will not be voting in favor of this.
Okay,
Okay.
good to know. Thank you for that. Bernie?
Yeah, this was something that I kind of was hedging. I mean, I know this is, not nice and pretty and everything, but, I do agree. It's, I think we could wait on the funding for it, and it would be a good, to me, if there's money there later on, and we don't want to lose the ARPA funds, but there might be something that we need more than this. And Heath brought up the bulkiness of it being a solid piece. I hadn't thought of that. That was, I'm kind of against limiting it, but maybe down the road, if we get later, I'd be for it.
This is so ironic. This is what I was saying a couple of years ago, but
Yeah.
You made a good point, Alex. You made several good points.
And it's coming back as an echo. 3 years
You
later.
planted these seeds, man.
I'm surprised. I'm really surprised.
Alex.
Well, we do have ARPA funds, and down the road,
Yeah.
if we just kind of table
These
this.
tables are terrible, so.
Well,
Yeah.
let me know when you're.
Well,
What's
go ahead.
the-
I'm done now.
Okay.
That's-
Okay, Mary?
I'm in favor of it
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. One is the cost is not going to go down, so waiting on it is not ever a good idea as far as I'm concerned, especially with the cost of wood and stuff. Two, I think it would enhance the experience of looking at us and our atmosphere. I think it's a very tasteful thing to do because, I mean, these work just fine. Yes, don't fix it if it's not broken. The funds are there for our use, and we are doling out these funds all over the place. I don't see why the select board can't benefit from it as well. I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I can kind of visualize how tasteful it would look. And then the other thing is I understand what he says about using prisoners to do work and stuff. And I know nothing about that except that in just my gut feeling is that it gives them something to do and a purpose, that says, look, you're not just garbage that are sitting in a cell and you're done. We don't know you anymore, right?
Yep.
And it kind of says, look, here's your second chance. We're all about rehabilitating. We say we are, but we just put them in a cell and shut the door. So those are my reasons. One is I think it would enhance the experience of the select board and the town. I mean, visually. And two, I think the money I think that's very reasonable. I don't know if chairs are included in that
These are new.
$9,000.
We bought these just a few
Okay,
years
the
ago.
chairs are fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Alex
then,
doesn't want to give up his, and I kind of like mine. So.
and I like mine too.
Yeah.
But those are my reasons that I
Tighten that up.
agree with it.
Get that
Okay.
tightened.
So Andrea, just a question. If when this motion is made and there's a tie vote, does
Can't be,
that
there's 5 of you.
right?
Unless
But
somebody abstains. then
but
fail.
B just said that she was going to abstain.
No,
so
she-
No,
Abstained
no.
at
I
ARPA.
said I abstained at the ARPA meeting
oh, I'm
because
sorry, I misunderstood.
our
you.
job
Okay.
at ARPA is to bring
That one
it
too.
forward.
I
If
missed
if there is a 2-2
Yeah.
tie for any reason, it fails.
Okay.
And I'll add one more thing if I can, just
Yes.
about the mass court. Having the inmates do specific portions of work. I've seen them do fantastic work. There are many people who are very happy in that correction system to have the opportunity to give back to their communities in certain ways. They have different things that they do that it's almost like they get to use their craft in a helpful way instead of just sitting somewhere and like I'm wasting away and wasting this time on my mistake. They're out there in the communities paying that back, and they love that feeling. That's I totally want to recognize that. I don't want to put down mass court completely. It's just there's another aspect to it that I have a little bit more in-depth knowledge about, and I don't want to
And
dive
I
into
don't,
it. So it's just
definitely.
it's not worth it. But I do want to say that
totally appreciate that.
the people who do
This
some
work.
of that I've interacted with them directly, and they love being able to, if they're craftsmen and they made a mistake that landed them behind bars for a little while, they love to come out and create this wonderful work of art like this, and then they get out and they're
I
a
think they
little bit
also
more.
use these as training programs to give them skills for
Yeah,
I was
work.
gonna
absolutely.
Say, do they use
These guys are
these
learning
skills once
carpentry.
they get
They
out?
came
Yeah.
to church, the first
Yeah.
church.
And this is across the board too. I mean, they like produce. You look at MassCore's website, the amount of stuff that they actually
they
produce
send
out of that program is
catalogs. It's
insane.
They
amazing.
painted that first church.
But yeah, not just that. Like they
Well, that's
manufacture stuff. Like they
That's the
create.
Franklin County.
Oh.
This
Yeah,
is
but
It's a
I've
different program.
Yeah. But it's
Similar.
similar, local program. But
Um,
yeah, they have an unbelievable what they do.
Sandra?
So we also have to keep in mind that we have boards with judicial duties that come in here, the ZBA, ConsCom,
Hold
planning
hearings.
board, that use this room for their hearings.
Right.
So.
It's not
Yeah,
just the
very
select
hard.
board.
It gives it a
Select board
profession.
uses
It's
it.
true.
It gives it a professional, proper feeling, and I think keeping up with the town of Northfield and our status as a wonderful town, a beautiful desk would be very nice.
I'm just looking at creating more space out here. When Sandra and I were here for Jim McGovern's there was hardly any space, and a lot of it
We
was,
pushed everything.
and we did push everything back. So I actually,
Okay.
I'm happy to do whatever the board wants to do. I'm neutral on it. I'm semi in favor of it because I think it would also help with, I think the way that they're built, it's going to help with the cord and the mic stuff getting up into the, I think it can all be fed into the base of
Do we
the.
do a vote, Pete?
Yes. So I guess what I want to ask the board is, do you want to do a vote to just straight out approve it? And then if it's not approved, you know, if people vote no, which is fine, do you want us to bring it back at a later point?
No. I would like, personally, my thought is to take a vote on whether it's
All
yay or
right.
nay.
Well, then why
Okay.
don't you make a motion then?
So,
Or what? Did you
Oh.
have more to say?
yeah, I did.
Okay.
In the interest of this, the most important decisions in government seem to always happen in nice rooms. Our country was built in a room full of men deciding that it was time to
I'm not laughing.
rise up against tyranny, and they didn't do that in a barn. They did that in a nice meeting house. I like to think it was nice. I've been there. But if you go to a place like Bernardston, I'm sorry, Bernardston, but their room is lousy. It's a disgrace. And when you're in a when you're in a room when you're in a room that doesn't have the infrastructure of what I feel a proper governmental decision-making room should be, I think that atmosphere can have an effect on how your decision is made. I believe in those types of things. So look, we're spending a lot of money on an EMS, fire, and police building here, which means that we like and care about our EMS, fire, and police. And with a new building, I might add,
Yes.
that also increases not only their reputation, but the image that the town, its people, and the people going through the town will have for our people who work for the town of Northfield. So I conclude that the members of this select board, as hardworking as we are, deserve a break once in a while. We've all talked about wanting to get raises in the past. That got shot down. And I think, you know, this is a nice gesture to enhance our local government in this nice room, which has seen lots of talented hands in maintenance over the past few years, that these tables would be a final touch to improving the way we do our business in town.
Okay, thank you for that. As always, you know how to.
Bring it all together.
Exactly. Thank you, Mary. Mary, do you want to do the motion then? And
Yes, Pete,
okay.
I would be honored to do the motion. I move that we vote on the request for funding from ARPA in the amount of $9,039.29 to build a 5-piece select board meeting room desk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 ayes. All those not in favor?
No.
Nay.
2, so it's 3-2. Okay, thank you. All righty.
That's a first class.
I know.
For at least my time
I
on
think
here.
you've been non-unanimous on things before.
I don't recall ever.
We're usually unanimous. Okay. All right,
It's
ARPA.
good to do once in a while to show varying opinions.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
That is democracy. That's
I
something
would
Alex
love-
would say.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to have.
Quote
Yeah.
Alex. Alex, yeah, if we channel you, then we've just had a debate on something
Absolutely.
and we arrived at a conclusion. It wasn't unanimous, which we all prefer and enjoy and love, but
There's no hard feelings about it.
there's no hard feelings.
Many.
We're moving
That I
on.
love about it.
We're
Much.
moving on to the next
Wow, I'm
topic.
sitting there.
I just look forward to having more room in here for discussions. ARPA discussion and request. We put this on here because we just want to give you a taste of what else is coming. So laying the groundwork for that and also giving you a sense of just how many other areas we're going to be tackling with ARPA funds.
Right.
So Andrea, do you want to give us the overview on
Sure.
that?
I just confirmed with the treasurer, we have all of our ARPA money in, $884,166.39 was the total we were awarded. So all those proceeds did come in. I just wanted to,
800.
$84,166.39.
That's more than we were expecting.
Yeah, I think there were some changes with the
It was-
county stuff, so yeah, 884,000, so yeah, that's in. So that
We were
has,
like operating, when
we
we
thought it was
first
like
started.
860.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
but all
that's-
those funds are in. They have,
Okay.
she has all the, so we know that that's the total because they have all been
Okay.
over time. It wasn't just recently.
Oh, that's
but over
gonna change the
time
spreadsheet.
received.
Okay.
So, so yeah, so I actually updated the spreadsheet some. But the things that have started to show up, and I do have a meeting coming up, and we did, if you'll recall, we talked a while ago about a possible admin vehicle for the police department. That would be a cruiser that was unmarked, presumably used by the SRO at times, and didn't necessarily have to have everything the same.
Bells
But
and whistles.
well, it was supposed to be a different type of vehicle, or for the on-duty, what we'd call the day officer, who may or may not become the SRO. But certainly when you transport minors, it's important to have a
An
non-marked
unmarked,
vehicle.
Yeah.
And for travel possibly to meetings and things out of town, sometimes you want an unmarked vehicle because you don't want to have everybody seen driving around in New Hampshire in a Northfield cruiser. So there was discussion on that for a while. It was put in as a request for a while, and we've held it off partly because of the SRO discussion. We didn't know where that was going. So B and I have met with John, and I think at this time our idea is to not put that vehicle forward, partly because we don't have an SRO coming on board, but we do potentially have 2 people working some days now, the chief and the full-timer. So that's 2 vehicles, plus we have vehicles assigned to our sergeant. But we were also talking
And an
about...
officer comes in at 3, right, who has
Correct,
one
so
of the
there has to be a
vehicles.
vehicle here
So
for
there's
that.
actually 3 people kind of overlap on the day.
Right. So we talked about, for now, keeping the oldest vehicle, because when we get the new one, we would, instead of disposing of the oldest one, keeping that for now and demarking it. And keeping that one as...
The older model?
The oldest one that we'd get rid of, which is, it doesn't sound that old, but it's a 2017 or 2017, I believe. And instead of normally getting rid of that one, keeping that over and seeing how that function works to see about the use of a 5th vehicle. Do we need that, and how does that work, and would it be utilized? And getting it decaled though, to make it the unmarked vehicle. And then if we were to end up with an SRO or a reason to transport someone or to go somewhere with an unmarked vehicle, we would have that vehicle in our fleet. And so that's the thought at this time, instead of asking for a new cruiser, instead of expending those funds. And then if it works out, the chief's very adamant that everybody's aware of this. He doesn't want people to think he's, keeping this vehicle on the sly. If it works out, if it makes sense, if we're utilizing it, if we move forward with this, then we could rotate that in to be replaced on the schedule. He also wants to change the schedule. You had a 5-year rotation. He'd like to push that out to 7 or 8 years. He thinks the vehicles could go longer with their use, and therefore even adding a vehicle into the rotation wouldn't add a vehicle every single year. Because if you realized we had a 4 vehicles, 5 years, you were buying a vehicle every year except 1.
Yeah.
But if we spread this out more, actually that would change a little bit. So he's been working on the capital plan, moving the
interesting.
cruisers around. So we'd be utilizing them the other way. So the idea at this point is not to request that in ARPA funds. If we move forward with that plan, it would be to bring it back into the capital plan, because buying it as ARPA one time doesn't rotate it into your capital plan. So he thinks that it should have a full discussion with finance. It should have a full discussion before you just buy that cruiser and put it into your rotational plan. That it needs more
thought from a capital standpoint.
And this way we give it a trial for free. We don't have to buy a vehicle to give it a trial. We have that vehicle we can continue to use and figure out how that schedule works
Well, and if
before
we
we
do
buy another
that for a
vehicle.
couple of years, then if they decide, oh, we're really not it doesn't make sense to do this, then we can just get rid of the vehicle, right?
Correct. Right.
I
So
think that's a
I think
great
he was
alternative.
right. So I think he was trying to not add to just buying your vehicle every year. It didn't make sense. We could spread them out, and we could keep the one we have now to see if this new concept works
Okay.
with the new staffing model.
Okay.
Would
So-
we need ARPA funds to I don't know what it takes to
So there's
undetail.
there's two ways to remove decals. You have to do it by a heat gun and scraping, or you can do it with an eraser wheel. You can't just polish off graphics like
Right,
that.
right.
So it's very time consuming. You have to take into consideration the sensitivity of the clear coat. You have to take into consideration what type of vinyl graphic it is. Some are more durable than others. And
So it might still look like even if you had it taken off.
But it
It
will,
has to
but
be done well enough so it doesn't look like a
no,
former.
well, when you remove it, you have to level. You have to remove the adhesive after the graphic is removed, and then when the adhesive is gone, there's still going to be a silhouette of it. And in order to take that out, you have to knock the clear coat down a little bit if it's into certain mils of the clear coat. Been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah,
so
no, I know. This is right up your alley. It's kind of like refinishing a floor.
it's very similar.
I mean,
So
analogous. Okay.
So we can
So-
talk to him about whether or not that's something he wants to get a quote on, so he would
Okay.
know
Yeah.
what that would be. We're awaiting a vehicle that he ordered months ago
Please.
anyway.
please put me in contact with the chief when that discussion happens,
Well, I'll put you
because
in contact with him sooner rather than later, so you can give him some sense of what he's looking for.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's the plan, kind of to move forward on that. So kind of pulling that off the schedule a bit, but,
Are there any questions or comments on that? Because
right.
to Chief Hall's point, we're going to take that up with the finance committee
Right.
too, which I think
Right.
they'll appreciate.
He wants it all above board. He doesn't want anybody to think he's trying to pull a wool over anyone's eyes. So
Keep
he-
all the cars.
Right,
Yeah.
we're looking at a different staffing plan, we're looking at a different car model, and we'll have an opportunity to test it out with relatively little expense before we purchase any vehicles.
okay.
Bernie, did you have questions?
No,
Is that a hand up? Okay.
No,
Anybody
that's
else?
just-
Keith, do you have any thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah, because I've heard
It's a good-
concerns within town about how we have so many police cars for such a small town, but I mean, I've counteracted that with, the necessary staffing needs that we have,
Yeah.
and we've been at minimum before where we had a cruiser breakdown and then a deer took out another one the same exact
an
week.
Officer Cowan
when we were here
Was it an
and-
accident one year? He got totaled by somebody,
Yeah.
a drunk driver or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can go from right at what you need to barely enough to safely operate in a moment's notice, and that perfect storm of stuff can happen. So it's just I think this is a solid plan. I talked with John about this when he first
great.
got on.
Okay.
So yeah, no, this is a good deal, and especially with the fact that we have this the unmarked vehicle that we're not 100% dedicating ourselves to, which I hope is something to support that will change soon with the school committee coming to
Yeah.
some sort of a fruition on this
Right,
SRO
and
stuff.
I just have to give him credit, he's really trying to think about the needs of the town, the cost to the town,
Yep.
the consideration of the town, he's trying to be very above board with it, he's very
Right.
clear that he doesn't.
And also looking at the needs of the department.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
gives us an opportunity to explore that,
Very much
Within-
appreciated.
the staffing.
And you're the one that came up with the idea. I thought it was a fantastic idea. So.
It seems like these vehicles are lasting longer than they used to as well.
Right, I
Yeah.
think with the hybrid. too,
$100,000 on a Crown Vic back in the day, it was like that thing was
100,000
ancient because it,
miles. Oh,
it
yeah.
would run like
they're
all
not-
night long
they're
with the heater
hybrid.
on and everything else.
I don't think they're as hard on the system, the hybrid.
No.
It's a very different, now you can have, allow them to get electrical issues, but in terms of the mechanics of the motor.
They're
I
just
think-
very slow.
Yeah.
They're much slower and they're much heavier because the batteries and the motors are heavy. So
People say they've got quite the acceleration, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I
get some
have a
Tesla
hybrid.
cruisers then.
But these are hybrids, these aren't full electric. Full
What about
electric,
the
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Full electric is
Oh,
heavy
the-
because of the
the
battery.
Mustangs.
Hybrids, it's not the same. Hybrids don't have the same battery system
Okay.
going on.
All right.
I did receive a wastewater treatment one that will be.
An aerator
Yeah.
for like 1,600 or something.
Well,
I forget
they
the
actually
actual
have
number.
they're one aerator down. If the other one goes, so this is for both aerators.
Maybe we need to. So we're buying two.
Yes,
okay.
because they're the same age, so it doesn't make sense
Okay.
to buy one and not buy the other.
Not with the lead time on these things.
So,
okay, so
the
that
ARPA will
will
be
be coming.
discussing that. The other two that are coming up, I just got from the first go around, we had a discussion about it, our new position, our new grant development, a storefront improvement program, which I know we discussed before. Funds to help local
Mary.
businesses do improvements. So she had done one of these or had been involved. So she came in with and sat with me yesterday. We talked through the model that she kind of had already put together.
This is our new grant development
Our new grant
director.
development
who's
director.
already-
And what's her name again?
Mallory.
Right.
And so she brought together the first proposal. We met, we talked, we critiqued. She sent me some new documentation. I want to bring it before the ARPA committee to also hash it out, get questions, get feedback,
Yeah.
take a first look at it, how it fits for Northfield. But she's way ahead of the curve on it, having kind of run through this before. You know, she's administered, she's done applications. We were talking about, you know, caps and numbers and everything. So I think that, you know, I said, well, I think we've got enough to go to the ARPA committee to start to talk about this for them to weigh in on.
Wow.
To weigh in on it. So,
That's
you know, we
exciting.
kind of thought of a time frame too. If we get these out in January or February, it gives people enough time to get them back, get everything together, and then do the work by the summer.
Right, because we're
Because it
going to
would
have
be
to go for
construction
bids and
season by
stuff.
then.
Yeah.
You're not going to work outside in March, but you might.
So are you
April.
thinking that the select board will actually be able to talk about it on December 20th, or we might?
I
January
think it depends
10th.
on how far the ARPA committee goes. If you
Okay.
guys pass something forward, yes.
Okay.
I would think so. The aerator will move forward, and then I know that you're working on a proposal. And I think you're pretty close to bringing that to ARPA too.
I just got to circle back with the chiefs,
Yeah.
or they've got to circle back with me and
So-
you.
So those are the three real.
So the fourth
projects.
one is we're going to use ARPA funds for premium pay for employees who worked during the key COVID year. So March of 2020 to April 2021. And it's a tiered system based on the number of hours they worked and their level of exposure. So everybody would get some amount depending on the tier that they fall into. So we got really good, Andre and I got really good feedback from the committee because we've had to run this through the committee like 2 or 3 times already. Need to circle back to the chiefs on their thinking, and then the goal is to bring it before the select board on December 20th. So just want to put it out there for you guys to think
cool.
about it.
So
It's
those-
all in, I've got it in a spreadsheet and it's pretty easy to understand once we print it out. But
So currently, you have 302,000 left. The requests that you voted on tonight total 43. So you'll have 259,000 still unobligated.
It's like a shopping spree.
Well, no, but it is. But it's all things that I think you probably wanted to do, but just haven't had the opportunity to
It's
do.
been really nice to have this.
it has been, and I think I'm just going to point out it's not as easy to spend money as people think it is. Once you get up into that range, you've really got to develop a pipeline of different kinds of programs in order to fully spend it.
And I think we've worked really hard to try and expend it across multiple needs, from matching Comcast to sewer to the police department to highway for the tractor match, for the rec director's wages. We're trying to hit a broad swath of all the needs and,
Yeah.
and uses of the residents in town.
And we still have Chief Fortier and I talked about the dummy, doing a new dummy for the EMS.
Right. So
They don't have any room to store it. That's the
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I think I think the use of the ARPA funds, I mean, a lot of what I've looked at, what we've got from ARPA funds would have come out of the town budget. We would have to pay for it. You know, the taxpayers would have to pay for it. And these are things, you know, that I see for the most part, we've really needed. And, you know, so I think the use of the ARPA funds has been, you know, a really beneficial to the town.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's what it was
Agreed.
there for.
so yeah.
Okay, well, that will just give you a taste of what's to come. So we're still working on the pipeline, working on spending.
V, can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are we on camera?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Because a citizen just texted me and said, I can't see you guys.
Oh.
So I wasn't sure.
are they looking on Facebook or
about live stream or on
TV? Live stream.
are you live
Well,
on?
you know what? Let me just ask that.
If they're on Facebook, it's
They've got a-
from YouTube.
It's what?
It's Facebook is a link that
Takes you
To
to
the
YouTube.
YouTube.
Right,
You gotta
okay.
click through to get to YouTube to see it live.
Mhm.
And we are on right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, okay.
All right, thank you. So let's rock and roll through the rest of this. Lots of appointments, renewals. First up is to vote to accept the FY21 audit that we talked about at the last meeting.
Mhm.
Motion to accept the FY21 audit.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Annual liquor license renewals.
So, I suppose it doesn't matter, but since we are the authority, I figured I would just ask this anyways, and I promise this is probably the only one I ask on. Is,
First one?
Yeah, even if a business isn't even open or hasn't been, we can still approve a liquor license when
Yes.
it's never even being sold? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
If I could follow up on Alex's question.
Yes.
I thought, wasn't there a statute or a law of some sort, an abandoned property type thing, where if a business is not functioning as a business after a certain amount of time, there is tax levies put on that or some sort? It's a California law, but it extends to the state of Massachusetts normally in bigger cities. I know they have that in
We'd have to have
Revere.
something adopted here. We don't
We
have
would
We
that.
have to adopt a bylaw.
So
or
this
something.
is a closed business that hasn't been open in several years, but it's still functioning as a business. One of the ways it's functioning, it's paying its property taxes,
Yep.
and it's asking for a license renewal,
Right.
even
Right.
though it's not doing business as a business.
Right. And let's remember also in COVID
I understand
put a lot
where
of
you're going with
businesses
that.
into, yeah. The other thing
Okay.
is, we just asked this question. It's a very good question, so it should be brought up. We just asked this question because I was sitting in talking with Sandra and Andrea about this very agenda, and this property came up. The key thing is, we're nowhere near our limit of, so it's not like it's preventing somebody else from
Okay.
getting a liquor license.
That's what I was
Sure.
concerned
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
No,
Because
right.
we're wasting a precious license on something that is being...
We have plenty of licenses
Mhm.
based
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
number.
You're not,
that-
you're not
No,
near
we're
the limit.
nowhere
All
near our
right, that
limit.
makes me feel better.
Yep, so it's,
I'll make a motion
thank you,
to approve the renewal of Vasilos Perios
Vasilios.
Northfield Pizza House at 198 Main Street. Annual restaurant wines and malts, and to expire 12/31/23.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye. I'll make a motion to approve the renewal for Paul Cameron, Cameron's Winery LLC, 1046 Norris Falls Road, Annual Farmer Series pouring permit wines only, expires December 31st, 2023.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote to I move to approve the renewal of Shelby.
Hassan
Help me.
Basic? Hassan
Hassan
Basic.
Bassick.
Hassan Basket, Northfield Golf Club,
Oops.
31 Holton Street, annual general on-premises all alcohol beverages, and that expires 12/31/23.
Second.
Excellent. All those in
Yay.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Motion to
Shelby.
approve the renewal for Dennis Brennan, Northfield VFW Post 9874 Incorporated, 545 Mount Herman Station Road, Annual Veterans Club, all alcoholic beverages expiring December 31st, 2023. Request for the fee to be waived.
Oh, yeah. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I get a motion? Bernie, do you want to take the next one?
Okay. Vote to approve the renewal for Condor 80 Corporation, Jody James, Northfield Food Mart, 74 Main Street, annual package store, all alcoholic beverages, expires 12/31/2023.
Motion NA.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the renewal for Magical Incorporated, Jody James, Mims Market, 60 Main Street, Annual Package Store, Wines and Malts, expires December 31st, 2023.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Bernie got the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vote to approve the renewal for Christopher Sellers, the brewery at 4 Star Farms Incorporated, annual Farmer Series pouring permit -198, wines and malts, expires 12/31/2023.
Motion NA.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the renewal for Paul Cameron, the Backroom Brewery LLC annual farmer brewing permit, pouring permit, malt, expiring December 31st, 2023.
Motion and a
Second.
excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now on to, thank you everyone, on to annual class 2 and 3 renewals. Can we get a motion to approve the renewal for Clayton Browning, DBA Browning Automotive, 22 Upper Farms Road, class 2 license expires January 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Excellent. Second?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I get a motion to approve the renewal for Daniel H. Browning, DBA Daniel H. Browning, 849 Millers Falls Road, Class 3 license expires January 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Excellent. Second, motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And if I may,
Yes, you
specifically,
may. Go right ahead, please.
I sort of promised
Yep,
Jeff I
yep.
would. Motion to approve the renewal for Jeffrey Matoski, DBA Boyd's Auto Body, 952 Millers Falls Road, Class 3 license, expiring January 1st, 2024.
Motion and
Second.
excellent. Second by Bernie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And can I get a motion to approve the renewal for H. Brian Wood, DBA Northfield Auto Body, LLC, 99 Main Street, Class 2 license expires January 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Excellent. And
Second.
second from Heath. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, and can I get a motion to accept the resignation from Stacy Bond from the Agricultural Commission?
Was there a letter to associate with that?
Yes. Well, let's get the motion going and then we can discuss.
Second the motion.
Okay, thank you. And
We're in discussion now.
now we're in discussion, yes. So Stacy is doing quite a few things in town. And am I to understand she's resigning from the Agricultural Commission and she's going to be doing the minutes for the Ag
It's
Commission?
going to be their secretary,
Yeah, and it's a paid position.
so she
Right.
can't be on the board.
Right.
Valid point.
But we have somebody else coming in right behind her,
Yes.
so-
Good.
So
Outstanding.
thank you to Stacy for always
I know.
replacing.
I know herself.
She's right in line. She's got
She's
someone
like-
prepared.
She's on it.
Speaking
Yeah.
of
She is on it.
pipelines, she's
Succession
always
planning.
on it.
But you
Succession
can only
planning.
press upon other board members. You can't leave till you bring your replacement.
Exactly.
We had
We're
we
gonna
had
use
She
her-
never lets
We're
down.
gonna
50
use her as
people
the
in town
model.
like Stacy Bond. I can't imagine the things we'd
Oh
be
my
able to
God,
do.
Oh my
3 and
God.
10, we would be.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation from Stacy Bond from the Agricultural Commission.
Motion and a
Second.
excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With thanks to Stacy. Now, Alice,
Okay.
do you want to bring us up to speed on this next
Right.
one? The
Yes.
request from the Business Park Committee to dissolve.
Okay, so I took a meeting with Mr. Barry Bordner, who is associated with the Business Park Committee, to find out what's going on here.
Yes.
These were gentlemen who took a great interest, even going to the extent of asking for money at town meeting
Yep.
for, I think it was like $5,000
Yes.
or something like that,
Yep. It was a
to explore a business park.
right before.
So they're at a point pretty much now where there is an ongoing amount of issues involving health and other things in the members' personal lives, to where they do not have the functioning ability anymore to continue their work, and a lot of that comes from the lack of support that they have felt that they have gotten from the anti-business mentality that some Northfielders have towards business parks, making it very hard for them to want to meet and get anything accomplished. This is what was said in the conversation. I happen to agree with some of it to a point. So Barry would like to recognize that there has been a good amount of interest still involved in it, and that he would eventually like to see all of their work that has been done with it passed on to people like Mallory and to others who can perhaps carry the torch forward in a non-committee fashion.
What's
It's-
Mallory has to do?
She's our grant development director.
Yeah, okay.
There is some grants And I would have to reach out to FERCog again. They have a economic development person. And it was brought to our attention and the board's attention that there has been economic development money in the past for business park development. I think it was a grant, so it's something I think that I'm going to ask Mallory to bring up when she meets with the FERCog, which she's doing in January, to look at whether or not we should pursue something like that, to get a study done. There's money for studies. So to see if that's really something that is feasible here, what the land might look like, what the requirements might be, what would a study show.
When you say business park, is that like a strip mall, like Cherry Rum?
No, I think what they want is to have a place where there could be light industrial, but more like people
On
work
Route
in
6.
it.
Pretty
On Route
much what
63.
Winchester has everywhere.
Yeah.
What is it?
Not
On
of
Route-
storefronts.
Like an industrial park, Mary.
It's
Like,
smaller.
you know, like Turners Falls Airport, where there's
Oh
like
yeah, sure.
an
Where
industrial
people-
business park.
Oh, okay.
Where there's light manufacturing, sometimes
Sure.
it's IT now, sometimes
Yeah.
Take a cruiser. We're going over Manning Hill and coming down to the center of Winchester.
Yeah.
You turn right or left right at those intersections and
That's what
see
it
what's
is.
out beyond Coolix or any other direction.
Uh-huh.
They have so many little pockets of exactly
Right,
like what
I
they
get
look
it.
And
like.
the whole
Okay.
idea, the whole concept was to do something like that on near, or I can not
That
quote
was
it
my next
exactly,
question. I
think it
near
was
or
near-
on one of the Browning plots on Route 63.
Right.
And this committee has felt like they have been railroaded and red taped
How s-
through every step and decision that has gone towards progressing the
By whom,
the
Alex?
business park. Just people in town who don't like it. I mean,
But not town hall.
I don't know. I can't
It's never
speak.
been
I can't
before
speak
me.
where exactly that the
Yeah, I
opposition
see, I
is coming
see.
from, but that there is an opposition of individuals who just don't want to see anything change in town, and it has caused a motivation issue.
So
and
let's dissect that a little bit. So I think we need to work on actions. I want to, first of all, say tremendous thanks and appreciation to the committee, because I know how strongly they feel about this and the effort that they put in. Perhaps the timing with COVID, because everything kind of went south from businesses closing and nobody, so I think they had something identified, and to be honest,
I didn't know
I
nothing
don't-
about it.
I don't know where the follow-on steps from that went, or anyway, so I think we should use this as I'm pointing at Heath because we started this under Heath's leadership and before with Alex, which was to have different committees come before the select board and talk about what they wanted to do and where they needed support and where they felt they were running into obstacles. So I'm sorry that never reached us.
Yeah.
I do think, because I did talk to Barry and to John one night when they were here, and I think it's wonderful and admirable that we can set them up and have them pass along all their learnings to Mallory, the grant development director. So Andrea was going to arrange that. So I don't want them to feel all is for naught.
Especially from over
I
here.
think it's really, when you reach a point in a committee where you feel like you're not getting what you wanted to get done, and you feel like there's not the personal circumstances that allow everyone to fully participate, then I think it takes, somebody like Barry and John who have a lot of business experience to say, what we're doing in our present form isn't working, and we're bringing that forward to the select board. So I think that's appreciated.
There was
My
also-
condolences to
Yeah.
them.
there was also an issue between how things are worded in our bylaws for zoning and planning and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
That
see
also
that.
made
Okay.
it very hard to make anything
Okay,
happen.
gotcha. Okay, so
I
then
can see that.
then we would need those, and not sure how we would work that out, but
Well, I think that's where a consultant comes into play. They look at the whole picture. They'll be looking, they could also, they could bring changes to your bylaws to your planning board.
like, here's your idea, but here's where your bylaws screw
Might
that
need to
up.
be changed.
Okay,
Might need to
All
be, and those have to go to town meeting, but it's not impossible to do. If there's an unintended consequence in a bylaw, you can change the bylaw in such a way that hopefully it makes the consequence you wanted, but doesn't preclude others.
Okay.
So there could be modifications to bylaws.
So one important thing that I think we should note on this, and I don't know how to carry this forward, but you know, with the progression of Mallory's position and the dissolving of this committee, there has been some significant work even prior to them coming to town meeting and requesting the money that they, you know, that they wanted, and
Right.
the work that
Yeah.
they did. So
Yeah.
we have sort of a prehistory of them, what they have gotten done, and sort of Mallory's position is going to carry that torch into the future. And I see a very similar parallel to what happened with the Emergency Services Committee. Having a sort of timeline of what has happened, what work has been done, and how do I move this forward, I think that's going to be essential so that she does not come across the same pitfalls and run through sand,
Gotcha.
because her time is limited in her position. So if some of this information can make it into her hands somehow, some way, if we can, I don't know if they have minutes or they're willing to have a meeting, but something to that effect to help Mallory do her job better, so she's not reinventing the wheel and starting
Oh, great idea.
a long time backwards. But I think that would be essential.
Well, Andrea once said, town government does not have to be reinvented. You can always look to other people and other places to work.
Best way to do it.
That's the best way to do it. You told me that recently. So we can do the same thing for them.
Okay.
Right. So
Right.
anything they have, obviously, and then, like I said, encouraging Mallory to talk to Jessica and get all the stuff firsthand on the regional support, because there is a regional economic development plan. I think this business park has been in it for some time.
Okay.
And there's also grants, because I remember going to a meeting with the business park and we had Jessica in, and she brought forward the idea of these grants
Okay.
that might help. And I have to just see if they're still out there, but business development is sort of a hot topic. So I have to believe that there may be some funding available to get someone on board to do that specific analysis. If you were to have a business park, what land do you have available? What do your bylaws say? What do you want to attract? How do you attract it? You do a whole piece like that, and then you move forward. Who owns the land? Is it something the town buys? Is it something that you help put together a private entity that economically develops that property? There's a lot packed in there.
Okay.
And I think the fact that we still have that money and I'm not closed to that for specific purposes, that it can be used maybe to match a grant,
matching.
or to meet the needs a grant won't cover, or whatever it is, if we were to move forward to try and get some other kind of grant funding to help with moving the process forward.
So in the dissolving of this committee, then can we somehow make sure that we make contact with them to see if they're willing to meet with Mallory on getting her up to speed to where they've...
Sure.
Should that happen before we dissolve it, or does it not matter?
I don't think that matters. I mean, I really don't. I think just having someone from the committee meet with her is fine.
Okay.
And she's been meeting with individual people. I know she's
Yes.
met with Julia from Open Space. So
Yeah.
meeting with different boards and committees and members is not.
Here's what I would
Something she's
suggest. Can
adverse
you
to.
set up a meeting with whomever would like to attend from the Business Park Committee? Because I
Ask
know
Barry
they are.
right now.
Okay, good. But I know there's others on there that would probably want to offer their perspective as well, in addition to Barry. Set up a meeting so that they feel like they can transfer like what the obstacles were, what they were trying to do, where they got hung up, all of that good stuff,
Their
similar to what
vision.
you're saying, the whole thing, the history plus
Yeah.
the vision, what were the obstacles, what were the challenges, and then so that we stay on top of it, we add it, whatever comes out of that, because we have economic development as a priority, we can specifically dive into that in the next round on our priorities, so that we keep it visible and we keep it as part of our priorities as well. And then if we need another committee, or we can figure that out with Mallory and whatever comes out of the grants.
She's only here for 3 years, and I mean, it could take
Yep.
her that long just to get to,
Well,
she's spent half that time catching up,
No, I know, but she's already putting a storefront improvement project in front of ARPA, so we're already moving forward. Okay, so I just want
2
to,
weeks, so she moves.
yeah,
All right, so
I-
we
and
gotta
I'm
make
just
the
want-
vote on this?
Yeah, so let's,
But can we change the wording?
No.
Oh,
no, we basically just have to take the action, but I just want to
Okay.
put it in the minutes, as Alex always says, capture those minutes,
right.
that we heard from the committee, and we will, after they meet with the new grant development director, we will take the lessons learned and the priorities and the vision that come out of that discussion and Mallory's work and add it into the select board priorities
Very
going
good.
forward.
Right. Okay.
That's the context for a
Yeah.
very simple motion.
Right, right, right.
Okay, go ahead.
I will make a motion to dissolve the Northfield, Massachusetts Business Park Committee effective immediately.
With regret.
With regret.
Yeah.
There. Okay,
I second.
excellent. All those in favor?
We have
Oh, sorry,
one
discussion?
one last thing I want
Yeah.
to mention. If the people who weren't interested anymore weren't interested, wouldn't it make more sense for them just to resign and leave open letters of interest to maybe people who would like to try to jump in?
Or,
It seems like it would be a little bit more.
That's a good point.
Or I'm wondering if you get forward moving on this grant, do you actually want to have that committee in existence and reappoint it then? You may or may not. I'm just.
Well, it
I'm not
might
sure if
have
you
a
need to
different
dissolve-
charter.
We could
Right.
just leave the
Or
committee
dissolve
in
the
existence,
committee.
and they can just submit the resignations from it. I mean, that's kind of where I'm saying. I mean, I don't really
I'm
understand why the
thinking
members are saying dissolve it.
Maybe
I
it
mean,
looks
Because
different
they're
when you put it
bruised.
back together.
Because when you put a group back together, it might be bigger than a business park. It might include other things in business development. So I think we take the idea
business
forward.
development, yeah, not business
Yeah.
park, but business development. Okay,
Exactly,
Yeah,
that
and
makes
we
sense.
reconstitute
Yep.
it with a different,
Create a different
Yep.
different
committee.
mission based
Yeah.
on what we know and what we
Good
want
point.
to do.
It's
Okay,
like
that way we cover it all.
Duh.
What?
What, Alex?
What?
it's like when the Rolling Stones break up or something, and then they come back together for another tour.
They
And
haven't
Right,
broken
maybe
up.
we'll get the Bordners back, you know?
it's like coming back again.
Right.
You
We'll
pay
get the
attention to
band
it.
back together again.
They're gonna say
Yeah,
it's
there
our
we go.
last tour, but you know what?
Different
we'll
lead
get them
singer.
back. Right.
I'm just going to point out the Rolling Stones have never broken up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good discussion, you guys. Thank you very much. Now, we need to vote to approve reimbursement of $1,835.54 to the Loaves and Fishes for emergency funding. Trust Fund Committee approved.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, second, sorry, Heath. All those in favor, or is there
Aye.
discussion? Discussion? No? All those
Not
in
all
favor?
those and fishes.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay. Now we're on to time off requests, closing in on the.
Oh, no.
2-page.
I'm
Shootski,
requesting
bootski,
time
there's
off.
a,
Oh no.
I was told to vote no.
I move
That's
that
what
we
I was-
allow Mary
yeah, that's-
time off.
That's what I was told.
Get your great
Who's doing
chats
all
on.
this telling? That's all I want to know.
Right?
We all know things just leak. They don't.
They leak, they don't really.
Here we have,
Okay.
Andreas, we have your schedule. Thank you for always being,
Yeah, thank you for the
Available?
schedule.
yeah.
It does sometimes change around based on things
Yeah.
that happen, but I try to do it
Like
based on when
hurricanes,
there's,
yeah.
when I already have to work, like, because I'm already signed up for several sessions and meetings.
Well, it helped me to recall that there's going to possibly be a C5 meeting that I do not want to miss on January 12th.
oh, okay.
So
Alrighty.
thank you, Janice. What?
Okay.
Janice?
I don't know.
Who's Janice?
I don't know.
Okay, the mascot.
I don't even know
Okay,
Janice.
That's really
Motion
good.
to
motion to
approve
approve.
submitted time off requests.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. No chocolates reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Citizens' concerns. Correspondence. We didn't have any correspondence that I saw. That was, we addressed it in the agendas, I think.
Did that.
Yeah,
Any nice letters? Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah,
And
we're going to finish
Yep.
that up. And we got that. Okay, check, check, and check. Committee board appointments. Speaking of the Agricultural Commission, can I get a motion to appoint Kristen Norwood to the Agricultural Commission as a full past farming member, formerly an alternate? Term expires June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
second.
Oh, Heath got you on that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
And can we get a motion to appoint Jesse Robertson Dubois to the Agricultural Commission as a full active farming member? Term expires June 30th, 2023. This will fill the vacated position.
Brilliant.
So moved.
Excellent. Second?
Second.
Excellent. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on to proposed agenda items. You want me to lay out what I have for December 20th? What's
Yes.
burning for everybody else?
SRO thing is what I just want to have. That's
Yeah.
one of my
Yep,
biggest
yep.
priorities
That's-
right now. Need an officer in those schools.
Yes.
I need to know how to go about amending the policy on special events on the cap of amount of people that can go to any given event. How do I bring that up?
We're gonna come to that. Is there anything else?
Well, I had the special events, remember we were
Okay,
gonna,
special
I sent you
events.
an email
Yep.
on the 9th about
Special
the
events.
adding the infrastructure
Yep,
to it.
yep,
What he said about the SRO thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to point out on the SRO that we join up back together again on January 30th
Wow.
with the finance committee and the school committee.
I hope we have somebody already there working by then,
It's
so I
taking
really
so
don't know.
long for this important.
We're not gonna
decision.
discuss it right now. It's
Right.
not under.
Yeah.
I
No
would like to get
problem.
it on our next agenda to figure out if there is some other, just a discussion on it.
Gotta
Okay.
keep it hot.
Okay.
Yep.
We're gonna, all right, we'll put it on the agenda, and we're also gonna go over where we're at with the officer. We're just gonna sum up that everything's ready to go at this point.
Mhm.
Okay, so for December 20th, do we have any more license renewals or appointment renewals? We are done.
Look at that
Appointments, yes.
table.
Appointments.
Appointments, yes.
It's a
That's
nice
for your
looking table.
signature.
Oh,
That's-
their
we're-
signature table.
We're going to have a signature
one.
Oh, that's
banquet
the only one, you're
afterwards.
gonna get one over there.
Yeah. Okay, so we will have some renewals of appointments, not licenses. We're all done with
Your
licenses.
12:30 appointments.
Okay.
Board and committee appointments.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have that. We also have ARPA. We discussed that earlier. So the critical one that will require some discussion, I think, is the premium pay. We've kind of laid the groundwork for everything else, and we'll see if the business improvement one is ready to go for the next meeting or the January 10th meeting. Okay, so ARPA, we will need to sign the Comcast contract.
That's my hope.
We may have something from First Light. I don't know if that will be an executive session. Maybe-
Only if it's not open to the public. Depends on whether this is your
Where we're
public's
at.
information.
We might just need to do an executive session just to update on what's going on over there. You having a problem? Oh, you lost your microphone?
I wasn't trying to play around. I was making too much noise.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
May, Alice.
Do we
May.
need to have the Emergency Services Building Committee update and anything new from the committee composition where we left it from the last November 15th?
I think that's on our next agenda,
Yep.
so we could discuss that one.
Okay.
We should put that on there because
Yeah.
likely we'll have some
We
sort of a
want to
different
come full
composition.
circle
Yeah.
back
That
to
meeting
that.
is on Monday, December 12th.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And we did the audit. We still have the CSO agreement that I keep pestering Chief Hall about that Irving needs to get to us
Mm-hmm.
for this year before the end of the fiscal year. And select board priorities. But select board priorities, that discussion, if December 20th is going to be packed, that can go into January, I think.
Yeah.
The key thing is to circle back on the preliminary review meeting that we had with Soulfest. And the thought that I had was to take all of the feedback from the select board, the discussion that we had, and the feedback that we got from folks. We did get some
Written comments.
written comments. We're going to, what I discussed with Sandra and Andrea was getting that packet out to you in advance of the next meeting so that you have time to review it, because some folks went into quite a lot of detail. So you're going to need some reading time to get prepared. But I think what we should do is provide some sort of written response to, and I'm going to summarize and bring that to the next meeting for us to discuss. What I've seen so far reinforces some of the prior discussion on the policy as well as the potential applicant. And I think some of the stuff that we got is actually looking ahead to when we get some sort of application. So we're kind of in this in-between period where I think we need to sum it up and put it back in front of the community as well as the Moody Center, as well, and also be in some sort of form of consensus on the select board on how we want to present back some sort of response.
I can just say, I mean, if you don't mind, I had
No.
quite a lengthy discussion with B. We talked a lot about process on this whole thing. Obviously, the first time having gone through a large event permit like this, but I think
This big.
the intent of the pre-application process is that's a process by the select board. So you had your meeting, you had the applicant, you asked for written input, you have your written input, you review that. He's talking about maybe just giving you a summary so that you guys can then arrive at your destination. Send that to the applicant. Then it's
Potential applicant, he's
well,
not
the
an
potential applicant.
Yeah.
So now you're going to give them your feedback based on what you discussed, what you'll discuss at the next meeting, and the written. That this process is a select board process, and therefore it's not really a public process in terms of public hearing. But if you read the application again, you'll see that is much more involved with a public hearing process. In other words, people have to, it's not a formal public hearing, but people have to be notified, they have to mail, the butters when there's going to be that's an opportunity if and when there's an actual application in front of you in which you would more hands-on have residents involved in. This pre-period is really for the board to give your feedback to a potential applicant. And that the next step, if they apply, is a much more hands-on process that you would involve more community other
We
than
have
me.
to, yeah.
Right,
As
you
well
have
as
it
different
written
departments.
into your policy
yeah.
to actually have
Right.
a public meeting on this, where the residents are noticed and all that. And hence the difference between the two, where the two are being treated. Because one is not an application, the other one would be if they filed one.
Right.
And so, people came in, they want to hear it, that's fine. Come in, hear your discussion, that's fine. But it's not really an opportunity for people to weigh in. That would be the application. And they have weighed in. You asked for a written period. So you do have people weighed in that you would read, take seriously as you discuss again through your discussion. And then you're going to give your feedback to a potential applicant and say, here's what we think, what we suggest, what we've heard, what we've seen, and should you move forward to apply,
Keep this in mind.
or here's where we see holes, here's where we have questions that you
Right.
did or didn't address, here we have concerns, where we got, that's really in the pre-application process, which is really your process.
Well, we've had 3 rounds, so we have no application yet. I'm just going
Nope.
to reiterate that until the cows come home. So we've had 3 rounds of input from the select board and from the public so far on the policy and the preliminary review, not on an application. And much of what was given to us on the policy specifically was for extraordinarily large events, such as what we did the preliminary review on. So I'm looking at not just what we received since November 1st, I'm also looking at what we received prior to that for the policy, which is where, just to dovetail back to what you said, Bernie, and what you're saying, that's something that the select board discussed before, and if we want to discuss it again, we can do it at the next meeting.
Great.
But I really feel, in order to not just kind of have this whole thing floating out there and periodically people are getting
Concerned.
concerned, and I just want to let people know that we hear that, when people put things in different size fonts, it's coming through in the written as well, and they were things that were said during the policy input as well. So we've heard that. I think it behooves us to summarize it and put something back in front of the potential applicant that we all feel represents not only the public input but our board input as well.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
It's going to be a challenge from a writing standpoint, but
but I know you can do it.
I think I'm up to the
Oh,
task.
yes, you are.
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit in the office over there with my laptop and
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you
As
can
we're
make
talking.
it very rough as a draft, like an outline. It doesn't have to be the fully written document. The
no,
idea-
no, and it's
The
not
idea is to bring it forward to the board for you
Right.
guys
for
to
you
then
guys to
create
have.
it.
Yeah, it's not going to
Right.
be a done thing. It's going to be enough so that we have something meaty to
Yes.
discuss and that you can respond to and say, "Great, B, but I think you're missing X, Y, and Z."
Okay.
And then Sandra is actually going through the feedback to date and organizing it into, oh, we've got 5 things on this point, we've got 3
That's
people
great.
on this point. So we'll have a sense of where's all the concern, because some of the concern is really generalized and some of it's really specific. So we need to sort through that as well, and that's just going to take a little bit more time. Anyway,
Okay.
hope that helps.
It does. Thank you, B.
Okay, I think that's about, we always have full, anything else? But I will put the SRO on there and we can summarize that. Yeah?
Not for agenda items.
Yep, okay. Ready to go?
Announcements.
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 Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I had a couple announcements, just
Oh,
kind
good.
of to recognize a couple residents were, you know, like
You doing shout
Adria
outs?
Lowry. Yeah, just a kind of a shout out.
Okay.
Adria Lowry, the florist here, was featured in Martha Stewart Living for one of her floral designs for a wedding.
Ooh. Good for
And
her. She's done a lot with her storefront
yeah, a
too.
local
So
children's
beautiful.
author, Christine Copeland, was a Reader's Choice finalist for her nature and forestry books for children.
Oh,
Just
love
wanted
it.
to just mention that. Yeah,
Nice.
Oh,
Thank you,
thanks for
Bernie.
bringing those to our
Yeah.
attention.
that's it.
That's
Mhm.
it.
Good.
That's
I'm
the
just
announcement.
reflecting on how nice that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
great.
Friends of the show. This
Friends
Saturday.
Of the show. Who's going?
What?
I'm going.
You're
What?
going?
Friends of the
Friends of
Show
the Show
Bridge.
With Senator Comerford on Saturday.
At the
Saturday at 4
I
o'clock.
cannot go, so that means that it won't be a quorum. I mean, right?
Even if you went, as long as you're not
We're not
deliberating and
talking.
having a meeting, it's
Oh,
about,
okay.
it's
So Alex,
it's
if you
being
go,
held-
I'll
Recognition
ignore you
for
like I
service.
usually
being held by
Okay,
another
we'll get to
organization.
that.
Be quiet, Heath. Be quiet.
I'm not sure if I'm going yet, B.
I'll have a coffee with you, Alex. I'm definitely going.
I won't be
Having
able to
coffee
go.
with Joe.
I'm gonna try and be there.
She's going to try
I'm
to be
at coffee
there.
with
Alex,
What
are
time
you-
is this at?
9:30 in the morning.
9:30
so it's
on
gonna
what
be
day?
rough for you
Like
if you're an
coffee
overnight.
Saturday.
Coffee starts at 9:30.
I don't think
Q-
she's gonna start till about 10.
She doesn't start until 10:15
So
because they're
you
going to do a
don't
little
have to be there
business
till-
meeting before that.
Yeah, I'll be working, so I won't be able to.
Okay. I'm questionable because I normally like to go to these things, but
Mhm.
I'm taking in additional rescue animals this week, so I
Right.
just don't know what they're all going to need by Saturday.
God bless
Trying to
you.
help somebody
Recognition
who's
for B and her.
A 4-star,
my
you said?
goodness.
4-star. Yeah. The
Okay.
business meeting starts at
And
9:30, but
also,
10
I
o'clock
think
by
we
then.
still have speaking of school committee, we still have a school committee vacancy. I
We do.
went back with
Yeah.
Nathan Latoile, and Nathan, we were gonna post something on the town website, just indicating anyone who's interested should contact Nathan Latoile, right?
To be on the school committee.
School committee
I was
vacancy.
talking to the town clerk today, he said that there was not a Northfield vacancy.
Oh.
How can that be?
I thought there was.
I don't know.
Did somebody
We'll have
get
to check
sworn
into
in?
that.
Okay, can you check in and see if we have a
Yeah.
new one since the last?
Find out who's
We
on the school
mentioned it at
committee.
November 15th, but,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Good. All right. And you had another recognition for
I have some recognition. The senior center won one of the Mass Walk Challenge awards. They,
Oh, with the happy feet.
with the happy feet and the
Oh,
happy little feet,
yeah.
where they go over and get the kindergartners and the first graders.
Right,
and
right.
They come over here and tear around the place.
I love
And
it.
they get their juice and stuff.
They get their juice in that. So Colleen Letourneau, you know, she runs that, and the seniors in the senior center, they all participate in that.
Well, what was it that you won? You won some sort of challenge.
They won some money for the senior center.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that
don't.
is definitely
I
a shout
forget
out.
the amount, but you know that goes
Who
into their
cares?
coffer.
Yeah.
And also recognize Deb Weiss and Kelly. She was interviewed for a story on volunteerism by NBC Nightly News,
Ooh, excellent.
and she's the
Getting
liaison from the
goosebumps.
senior center to the Friends of the Seniors,
Yeah.
Her husband's on the Friends of the Seniors too.
And he's a constable too.
He's a constable.
Look at these people putting Northfield on the map.
Broadcast.
That was on what?
But
Last
night's
night,
broadcast
NBC
was
Okay.
volunteering, but Deb wasn't featured on TV, but she might be at.
Oh, and the
She was
online
interviewed.
segment?
She was interviewed.
Oh,
for
okay,
it,
she
yeah.
might be in an
Fabulous.
online segment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she was interviewed.
Putting Northfield on the map.
Yeah. So,
Bring it.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think Alex is ready to go. Okay.
Don't forget
Thanks
to
for a
sign.
great meeting, everybody.
All right, I gotta